Chapter 1, The Landlady. In a lakeside cafe in Jianghai City, I was on a blind date with a woman introduced by my mother's mahjong partner. She asked me, "So you're a writer? Have you published anything?" I replied, "I'm an online writer. To get published, you need exceptional results first." She followed up, "So you're saying your results aren't good enough? Then how much do you make in a month?" I answered honestly, "If I meet all the monthly requirements, it's around 6,000. She looked at me with disdain, "Only 6,000? It's not even half the price of my bag. That's just too little. How can you possibly live in Jianghai City with such means?" The atmosphere instantly turned awkward. Already socially anxious, I felt like sitting on pins and needles. After a brief silence, she stood up, slung her brown bag over her shoulder, and smiled helplessly. "Alright then, I've got things to do soon, so I'll be going. Let's stay in touch." In her eyes, while I might have been decent looking and fairly tall, my plain clothes, unshaven stubble, messy hair, listless demeanor, and hollow, vacant eyes made me seem like a shut-in who gamed day and night. The real kicker was that I had no money. My little electric scooter parked at the entrance was downright depressing next to the cars nearby. I casually said, "Take care," feeling not the slightest bit of disappointment, if anything, a little thrilled to finally be alone again. At 24, driven by my passion for online novels, I'd become a web novelist after graduation, specializing in martial arts and passion stories. This job is pretty much like being a tech geek, staying home all day typing. The long-term reclusive lifestyle has made my already introverted self even more shy and timid. Other than going downstairs for meals, I barely step outside. This isolated existence has wrecked my social skills. Every time I interact with girls, I get extremely nervous, my speech becomes incoherent, and I often say inappropriate things. This is the main reason why I'm still single at 24. Just then, my phone rang. The voice on the other end said, "Hello, is this Mr. Shin? Could you come sign the contract later? I need to pick up my daughter from school soon." I quickly replied, yes, I'll be right there." Unable to bear my parents' constant pressure to get married, I found a studio apartment on a rental website, planning to distance myself from them. I downed my coffee in one gulp and headed to the checkout counter. Seeing how materialistic that woman was, I never expected her to go Dutch or pick up the tab. The girl at the counter was quite pretty, with eyes that curved charmingly when she smiled, utterly adorable. Shyly, I averted my gaze. Most introverts with social anxiety aren't comfortable making eye contact, especially with attractive members of the opposite sex. "Hello, your total is 150 yuan. You can scan right here," she said with a smile. "Ah, okay," I replied. After scanning the QR code and completing the payment, I suddenly felt a dizzy spell, as if some lines of text and a vague heart icon had briefly flashed above the girl's head. I blinked and looked again, but they were gone. It's time to start working out, I thought to myself, convinced this was just another consequence of sitting around too much. After checking out, I hopped on my electric scooter and headed straight for Fulong residential area in the suburbs. Although this neighborhood is far from downtown, the rent is cheap and the surroundings are quiet. That's exactly what I was looking for, so I paid the deposit on a rental website. Just as I stepped into the elevator, my WeChat notification chimed. Mom sent a message asking, "Son, how did the blind date go today?" I replied, "Total bust, what else could it be? Plus, the date cost me 150 yuan. Care to reimburse me, dear mother?" Mom said, "Son, want me to tell you a story?" I asked, "What story?" Mom replied, "Once upon a time, the Supreme Lord Laozi spent 49 days refining an immortal pill. This pill developed its own consciousness, escaped into the mortal world, and nestled beneath the ginseng fruit tree. Over time, it transformed itself to look just like a ginseng fruit. Later, when Tang Sanzang and his disciples arrived here, Sun Wukong stole and ate many ginseng fruits, but with a single strike of his staff, he killed the magical ginseng fruit transformed from an immortal pill. Guess why? I asked. Why? Mom replied, because it was Danshan, Salvia miltiariza. What's the use of keeping Danshan if you don't kill it, right, son? She also sent a series of smiling emojis. Looking at those emojis, I nervously swallowed and quickly exited the group chat to go offline. For the sake of my own safety, I decided not to drop by the old couple's place for a meal over the weekend. The elevator reached the 22nd floor. I stepped out and walked to the door of my rented apartment. The door was wide open, and the crisp sound of high heels clicking against the floor came from inside. "Is that Mr. Shin?" The voice grew closer, and my heartbeat quickened. I'm really not good at dealing with women. Moments later, a woman wearing a brown embroidered blouse appeared before me. She had an elegantly pale, oval face with jet black hair cascading over one shoulder. Below, she wore a nude-colored pencil skirt and sheer stockings, her legs long and perfectly proportioned. She exuded the sensual charm of a mature woman with the poised demeanor of an experienced housewife. In her hand was a rental contract, and on the table lay a large set of gleaming silver keys. My eyes instinctively swept over them. There had to be at least a dozen properties in that bunch. A landlady this beautiful with such a stunning figure. I'd only encountered such characters in the fantasy novels of my peers. Are you Shen Lang? She asked, teasing. From your voice, I thought you were in your 30s. I didn't expect you to be so young. I nervously laughed and chimed in, I didn't expect this either. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them and wished I could disappear into the ground. She looked at me with surprised eyes, filling me with unbearable tension. Scrambling for something to say, I forced myself to compliment her. What I meant was, sis, you look so young too, just like a young girl. Chapter 2, A Love Assistant? The landlady was taken aback at first, sizing me up from head to toe before scoffing disdainfully. Ha, young man, I'm practically a 40-year-old hag. What does that have to do with being young? You really have the nerve to say that. With several buildings under her belt, she'd seen all types of men. Compliments about her youthful beauty never cracked her composure. I sensed the unmistakable irritation in her tone. Already struggling with verbal coherence, I broke into a cold sweat. Age really is a sensitive subject for women. At this critical juncture, 3 virtual text options suddenly materialized before me. 1. You're almost 40? Damn impressive. At that age I'd have kicked the bucket long ago. 2. You're not old at all. You're still way too green to match wits with me yet. 3. Really, sis? Time can't conquer true beauty. Your years may increase, but your beauty never fades. Moreover, that faint heart icon had reappeared above the cashier girl's head. I noticed the heart wasn't pink, but transparent, with a small number 1 beside it. Within the heart pulsed an almost imperceptible crimson glow. I rubbed my eyes in disbelief and abruptly shifted my gaze back to the landlady's graceful and alluring figure. Those lines of text and that transparent heart were still there, they hadn't disappeared. As an online novelist, how could I not recognize such a thing? This is absolutely the golden finger that helps the protagonist reach the pinnacle of life. Host, please provide the correct answer promptly. Choosing correctly will yield rewards. The metallic electronic voice rang in my ears, finally convincing me that I had truly been selected by this sci-fi contraption. As for these 3 answer options, anyone with an ounce of common sense couldn't possibly choose wrong. Honestly, sister, time spares no beauty yet favors none. You may age in years, but your charm remains untouched. With the almighty system backing me up, I felt a surge of confidence, and my words came out noticeably less nervous and shy than before. Still, saying something so flirtatious to a woman I just met felt awkward, and I anxiously gauged Xia Shuyi's reaction. Xia Shuyi shot me an impassive sidelong glance before shaking her head slightly, her demeanor indifferent. With those glasses, you looked so meek and bookish. Who knew you'd turn out to be such a smooth talker? Is this how all young people are these days? Handing out compliments left and right? Under her piercing gaze, I couldn't help feeling uneasy. Had I really made the wrong choice? Why does she seem so displeased? I quickly skimmed through the first 2 options again, making sure I hadn't chosen the wrong response by mistake. If I had selected either of those first 2 choices, forget about renting an apartment. I probably wouldn't even be able to leave this room. Ding! Xia Shuyi's favorability towards the host has increased by 2 points, currently at 3. Keep up the good work. Following the system prompt, I abruptly noticed the heart-shaped number above Xia Shuyi's head change from 1 to 3. Within the translucent heart, faint crimson ripples of light shimmered exactly like a dating sim game's affection meter. Since the favorability increased by 2 points, that means my chosen response wasn't wrong. But why isn't she acting happy? Could it be a case of Tsundere acting cold but actually pleased? More importantly, how should I respond next? At this moment, the system options appeared again. 1. You saw right through me, sis. But I don't talk like this to everyone, only with you. 2. I really think you're quite young. You remind me of my mom. 3. Sis, I truly think you look very youthful. Your current age is the prime of womanhood, radiant with charm, like a flower in full bloom, looking just as fresh as those young girls. It's when the flower blossoms most vibrantly. Faced with these 3 options, someone like me with limited conversational skills felt quite indecisive. Upon closer consideration, the first option sounded too much like a confession. It might easily be misunderstood. The second option was definitely out of the question, since when do you compliment a woman by comparing her to your own mother? On the other hand, the third option naturally followed what I had just said. I genuinely thought the landlady was quite attractive, though slightly older. Isn't there a type of man who specifically likes older sisters? Saying this wouldn't come off as awkward flattery either. After pondering for a moment, I flashed a sincere smile. Sis, I really think you look quite young. Your current age is a woman's prime, radiant and full of charm, like a flower in full bloom. Honestly, you don't look much different from those younger girls. It's just the most vibrant stage of bloom. Xia Shuyi was visibly caught off guard by my ambiguous yet exceedingly polite compliment. Glancing at my earnest and guileless smile, her cheeks flushed slightly pink as she feigned annoyance and rolled her eyes at me. Testing the waters, she asked, All right, with all this sweet talk, you're not angling for a rent reduction, are you? 1. You caught me, sis. I've been having financial difficulties lately. Could you reduce the rent a bit? 2. I'm just telling the truth, sis. You're really young. If we went shopping together, people would definitely think we're siblings. 3. Shouldn't it be reduced? You dare charge me $1,000 a month for this godforsaken place? No, the rent should stay as is, I replied earnestly. I'm just telling the truth, sis. You're really young. If we went shopping together, people would definitely think we're siblings. Ding! Xia Shuyi's favorability towards the host has increased by 3 points, currently totaling 6 points. Keep up the good work. Xia Shuyi's face flushed as she waved her hand dismissively, her voice and demeanor noticeably weaker. You little rascal really know how to sweet talk without blushing. Do you often use these lines to fool young girls? Not at all, sis. I'm actually single, and I genuinely think you're quite young. Alright, Xia Shuyi, unable to handle my straightforward yet flirtatious remarks, retorted with a hint of shyness. Are you here for a blind date or to rent a place? Are we signing the contract or not? Sign, I readily agreed, following her inside to sign the contract. The moment she turned around, I clearly saw the slight upturn at the corners of her mouth. Hashtag Chapter 3, Earn money by chatting. It was a one-bedroom rental, complete with all kinds of appliances and internet service. Just move in with your suitcase. Xia Shuyi sat beside me, quietly watching as I signed, using her slender fingers to point out where I needed to sign, occasionally asking some casual questions. Her voice no longer carried the commanding tone from before. Instead, it had a warm, elder-sisterly quality. After signing the contract, I carefully reviewed the stipulated terms on the document. Then Xia Shuyi showed me around the room and hallway to familiarize me with the environment. After paying the rent, we added each other on WeChat. That's all for now. I need to pick up my daughter from school, Xia Shuyi said, gathering her keys and the contract copy. You can message me on WeChat if anything comes up. I nodded. Got it. Take care, Sister Xia, and thanks for everything. As she stood up, Xia Shuyi cast me a thoughtful glance, hesitating as if she had something unspoken weighing on her mind. Miss Xia, is there anything else? I asked politely. Xia Shuyi tucked a few strands of hair behind her ear, hesitating for a moment before asking with a mixture of shyness and hopefulness, what you said earlier, about me being beautiful and young, do those words really suit someone like me? No matter when, women always care deeply about their beauty and age. It wasn't that nobody had ever complimented Xia Shuyi on her youth and beauty before, on the contrary, such flatterers were a dime a dozen in her social circle. But she understood that those people all had ulterior motives, simply wanting either her money or her person. I didn't give her that sense of obsequious flattery. She had clearly noticed my nervous facial expression when I spoke those words earlier, the complete embarrassment typical of a freshly graduated college student. Naturally, she believed I had spoken from the heart. I didn't expect the landlady to actually care about what I just said. She'd been pretending not to give a damn earlier. Just as I was hesitating about how to respond, the system prompts appeared again. 1. Old hag, I only said you looked young earlier. When did I ever call you beautiful? Your hearing's going with age too, huh? 2. Honestly sis, if you hadn't mentioned your age earlier, I'd have thought you were just 27 or 28. 3. You're genuinely gorgeous, sister. And I especially love your body type, must feel wonderfully plush to hug. Really, sis, if you hadn't mentioned your age earlier, I would have thought you were just in your late 20s. I said with genuine sincerity, then added on my own, and sis, I'm sure it's not just me, your friends must often compliment you on how young and beautiful you look too. After answering, I couldn't help but complaining in my mind about options 1 and 3. Were they seriously not afraid I'd choose wrong? I dared not imagine how Xia Shuyi would react if I'd picked those 2 responses. Ding! Xia Shuyi's affection toward the host has increased by 4 points, currently at 10 points. Keep up the good work. Oh, they're all just teasing me, Xia Shuyi replied with slight awkwardness, brushing back her dark hair while unmistakable delight shone in her eyes. She couldn't suppress a chuckle. Though you might be the only one praising an old lady like me this way. I followed with a laugh, feeling none of the unease or tension that my former social anxiety and introversion used to bring. Instead, an inexplicable sense of accomplishment welled up in my heart. So this is how it feels to charm a woman with words. Come on, sis, I really think you're quite young and beautiful, with a great figure too. Ha, you're such a sweet talker. Well, let's leave it at that. I need to pick up my daughter from school. The principal's been pestering me on WeChat. With that, Xia Shuyi left the room, her stocking-clad legs striding confidently in high heels. As she stepped into the elevator, she even cast me a flirtatious glance, leaving this guy who'd been single for over 20 years breathing heavily. Indeed, an older sister like her truly has her own charm. After Xia Shuyi left, I couldn't wait to close the door and prepare to study the system. System. Hello host, the love assistance system at your service. That name is way too down to earth. I joked with a laugh, then asked eagerly, tell me in detail what functions you have. As the name suggests, this system is specifically designed to assist the host in social interactions. Whenever the host encounters challenging social situations, the system will provide various response options based on the personality traits of the other party. regardless of gender, as long as the host chooses the correct responses provided by the system to increase the other party's affinity towards them, they will receive cash rewards. 1 point of affinity can be exchanged for a cash reward of 10,000 yuan. When the other party's affinity towards the host reaches 50, the host can obtain detailed personal information about them and a mysterious treasure chest. The mysterious treasure chest can contain any prop the host desires. When the other party's affinity reaches 100, the host can obtain another one. Targets who are minors or individuals who already have feelings for the host will not yield affinity points or treasure chests. 1 favorability point equals 10,000 yuan? So that means I now have a 100,000 cash reward? I had just raised the landlady's favorability by 10 points moments ago. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but ask eagerly. Host has currently obtained 10 favorability points from Xia Shui. A 100,000 yuan cash reward is now available for withdrawal. Does the host wish to withdraw? Withdraw. This money comes way faster than painstakingly typing out words, plus it helps hone my eloquence. I was absolutely thrilled. The moment I spoke, a text message popped up on my phone. Your account 6770 received a deposit of 100,000 yuan at 6:30 a.m. on December 11th, China CITIC Bank. Just a few minutes of chatting and I've earned a year's salary. This is amazing. I adjusted my glasses in delight, suddenly feeling that talking to girls wasn't such a big deal after all. Even if I might still feel a bit awkward or shy when talking to girls now, it's real money we're talking about here. Can a man's embarrassment ever compare to the shame of an empty wallet? Improving my conversational skills while making big money, who could possibly dislike such a lucrative approach? By the way, system, I just thought of something. What if the other person is someone I don't like? I asked curiously. Surely you don't expect me to try and increase their favorability towards me if I can't stand them? Host need not worry. Lowering this target's favorability towards you will actually earn rewards. The system will also provide various response options to decrease their fondness based on their words and actions. That's good. I sighed in relief, not wanting to always try raising everyone's favorability toward me. What difference would that make from being a damn simp? Chapter 4, Only Cowards Stay Single. One last question. I cleared my throat awkwardly, unconsciously touching my nose. When their favorability maxes out, does it work like in those games then? When the favorability of anyone the host interacts with reaches 100, their final attitude will entirely depend on the host's choice. The system gave an ambiguous yet highly suggestive reply. Oh, I nervously rubbed my nose, feeling I'd asked a rather naive question. If a woman's favorability toward you maxes out but she's unwilling to play adult games with you, then either she's a lesbian, a relative, or has physical issues. Checking the time, I saw it was nearly past 6 o'clock. Grabbing my phone and keys, I decided to head downstairs to explore the neighborhood, grab dinner, familiarize myself with the surroundings, and maybe socialize to earn some extra cash. Located in a relatively remote area, the neighborhood took some navigating before I found a bustling street food market filled with the shouts of vendors hawking their wares from roadside stalls. I quickly ate a bowl of fried rice before heading toward the vendor selling sugar-roasted chestnuts, intending to buy some to snack on while gaming tonight. This is pretty much the daily life of most single folks, not exactly picky when it comes to 3 square meals a day. At home, I'd eat whatever my parents made, and when living on my own, I'd splurge on something nice if I had the money. If not, I'd just grab whatever was easy. Honestly, I'm pretty low maintenance when it comes to food. The chestnut vendor was a sun-darkened uncle, vigorously stirring a fragrant batch in his wok. I walked up and asked, "Boss, how much for the chestnuts?" 20 yuan per pound, freshly harvested. Want some, lad? The uncle cheerfully peeled a steaming chestnut and handed it to me. Here, try one, young man. They're really good. I sheepishly took it and popped it into my mouth to taste. It was indeed quite good, so I nodded and said, "Then I'll take 20 bucks worth." Truth be told, even if the chestnuts hadn't been tasty, I'd have still felt too embarrassed to turn down the vendor's enthusiasm and would have ended up buying some to take home. Many socially anxious introverts are like this. The moment a seller shows them even a hint of warmth and friendliness, they can't bear to refuse and end up foolishly buying something they're not completely satisfied with. Coming right up, we've got sweet, salty, and original flavor. Which one would you like? The salty one. Alright, I'll pack them for you. The shopkeeper chuckled as he set down his spatula and began packing the chestnuts for me. Ding! The shopkeeper's favorability toward you has increased by 1 point. Current favorability, 1 point. Keep it up. With the system's notification, I noticed a heart icon floating above the shopkeeper's head, though it was blue and indicated just 1 point of favorability. After a moment's thought, I decisively spoke up, "Boss, pack me another 20 yuan's worth of the original flavor chestnuts too." "Oh, sure. The shopkeeper smiled in surprise before packing the plain chestnuts. His favorability toward me rose by another point. Only then did I realize that improving someone's favorability toward you didn't solely rely on smooth talk. Just like this street vendor before me, if you bought more chestnuts from him and let him earn more money, he'd naturally view you more favorably. That'll be 40 yuan. Just scan here. Alright, payment sent. I chuckled nonchalantly. Spending 40 yuan to earn 20,000 in return. What an incredible bargain. Young man buying so much, must be sharing with your girlfriend, eh? The shopkeeper handed me 2 bags of chestnuts, teasing with a smile. Ah, how I envy you youngsters nowadays, carefree and without worries. Ha ha. I took the steaming bag of chestnuts with an awkward laugh. What's with this old guy? Why's he mocking me when I'm supporting his business? Can't a single person eat 40 bucks worth of chestnuts? Boss, how much are these chestnuts? Just then, my eyes lit up. A slender girl with delicate features bounced over to my side with cheerful steps, greeting the vendor with a bright smile. The girl had an oval face like a perfect melon seed, fair skin, and refined features, especially those cherry lips, tender pink and glistening. Even the oversized school uniform couldn't hide her graceful figure, exuding youthful charm at every turn. Thump, thump, my heart pounded. I could feel my heart pounding violently as I nervously took a step to the side. This wasn't the shyness of love at first sight. Most socially anxious people would have this kind of rejection reaction when encountering girls, especially those our age, and particularly those with cheerful, sunny dispositions. On the surface we appear extremely indifferent and aloof, but inside we're terrified. The feeling is like a gloomy cave-dwelling goblin encountering a radiant female elf outside. I longed to talk to her, yet feared my ugly appearance would make her recoil in disgust. Like that goblin, I stole furtive glances at this cheerful, sunlit elf of a girl. Sadly, she didn't notice me at all, engrossed in enthusiastic conversation with the shop owner as she debated which flavor of chestnuts to buy. I turned to leave but couldn't resist stealing another glance at her from the corner of my eye. She was truly beautiful, radiant with a cheerful disposition, the sweet type whose every smile and frown made my lips curl upward uncontrollably. In an instant, my daydreaming mind began conjuring up various ambiguous encounters with her. It's that pathetic skill most socially awkward single introverts possess. We constantly fantasize about pretty girls accompanying us shopping, gaming, or strolling down the street. But what sweet encounters exist in reality? This is just pathetic wishful thinking about an unsatisfactory life. When the dream ends, you realize so-called youth amounts to absolutely nothing. Walking home, I started regretting. Even with a system bound to me, I still didn't dare strike up a conversation. If this were some urban novel, such a cowardly protagonist would surely get torn to shreds in the comments section. If I had just spoken up to find a conversation starter, the system's function would have activated. Even if I stumbled over my words, the system would have my back. But I chickened out. Years of being a homebody left me too afraid to even start a conversation. It's just like that saying online, handsome people get partners, plain people get partners, only cowards end up alone. I secretly swore to myself, if heaven gives me one more chance, I'll definitely step up and ask for her number. Just then, I suddenly heard a bright, cheerful laugh from a girl behind me. Chapter 5. No story ever started without taking the first step. I suddenly turned my head to find the girl who had just bought chestnuts walking right behind me, holding the steaming bag while chatting and laughing, apparently sending messages to her roommate. Oh no, I forgot I've been on a diet lately. What should I do? I bought sweet chestnuts. Ha, you won't eat them either? Well, I can't just throw them away, that cost me 20 yuan. Fine, I'll just restart the diet next week. Hold on, gotta go, there's a guy staring at me. While chatting animatedly with her roommate, she unconsciously noticed me staring at her. Clumsily putting away her phone, she turned those large, innocent eyes, filled with pure, almost naive curiosity, toward me, then glanced behind her. Realizing there was no one behind her, she concluded I must have been looking at her. With cautious steps, she lowered her head slightly as if to hurry past me unnoticed. Seeing that she had caught my gaze, my nerves kicked in, leaving my thoughts in a tangled mess. Just as I struggled to find a suitable opening line, the system's options popped up. 1. With mock menace, joking, this path is mine, these trees I planted. Want to pass through? Hand over those caramelized nuts. Just kidding, can I add you on WeChat? 2. Smiling and asking, excuse me, did you also buy chestnuts from that uncle over there? What flavor did you get? 3. Friendly approach, hey beautiful, you're really pretty, can I add you on WeChat? Just as she was about to walk past me, I smiled and initiated conversation. Excuse me, did you also buy chestnuts from that uncle over there? What flavor did you get? When rejecting option 3, I nearly chose the first seemingly humorous response. Then I realized we weren't familiar with each other, and making such a crude joke would certainly scare her away. Forget about getting her WeChat then. Sweet? What's sweet? What's wrong? She stopped and eyed me warily. She was, after all, the campus belle of Zhuhai University, the white moonlight countless boys dreamed of, radiating that first love aura, forever fending off admirers asking for her WeChat. Only a few weeks into university life, yet she had already turned down many boys, some even suspected she might be into girls. Subconsciously, she assumed I was there to ask for her number too and had already started figuring out how to gently reject me. I wasn't surprised any girl would be wary when approached by a stranger. The system options appeared again. 1. Putting on a serious tone, she advised, eating so much sweet stuff will rot your teeth. And as a girl, aren't you concerned about your weight? 2. Laughing, I complained. The shopkeeper didn't hear me clearly. I asked for both sweet and salty flavors, but he gave me the original flavor instead. I prefer sweets. Want to swap my salty and original flavors with you? 3. Friendly advice, little sister, you shouldn't walk along the roadside while playing with your phone. The shopkeeper didn't catch what I said. I clearly asked for sweet and salty ones, but ended up with original flavor. I decisively rejected that lame reply from option 1 while playfully weighing the chestnuts in my hand. I've got a sweet tooth, how about I trade you my salty and original flavors? Oh, I see. She visibly relaxed, apparently having thought I was another guy asking for her WeChat. With a bright smile, she nodded, sure. I'm actually trying to lose weight these days. I handed her 2 bags of chestnuts. So, do you want the salted or the original flavor? I'll take the salted ones. The original ones don't taste good, she said, staring thoughtfully at the 2 steaming bags before her. After a moment's consideration, she took the salted chestnuts and handed me the sweet ones. Here, your sweet chestnuts. Thanks. I took the chestnuts with relief. I hadn't expected to strike up a conversation with her so easily, and even more surprising was how naturally exchanging chestnuts had become our opening topic. We continued walking in silence now, though keeping a considerable distance between us. Only then did I notice that her school uniform was from Juhai University. I had graduated from Juhai University half a year ago. We were alumni. That's when the system's options appeared again. 1. Surprised, asking, huh? You're from Juhai University? I just graduated last semester. We're alumni. 2. With a lewd smile, asking, judging by your uniform, you're from Juhai University, right? Heard the female students there have it good? Can you introduce me to a few? 3. Raising an eyebrow with a grin, hey beautiful, let me ask you something, what's your WeChat ID? After reading options 2 and 3, I nearly choked. If I actually asked like that, they'd probably call the cops on me for harassment. Putting on an exaggerated look of surprise, I said, hey, I just noticed you're from Juhai University too? She turned her head in surprise and said, you too? I enthusiastically replied with a smile, just graduated in the first half of the year. Never thought we'd be alumni. Is that so? I never imagined I'd run into an alumnus out here either. She smiled sweetly, melting my heart instantly. I could barely resist the urge to haul the Civil Affairs Bureau over right then and there to get our marriage certificate signed. The options appeared again. 1. Start eating chestnuts while expressing suspicion about their quality, asking her to taste them too, initiating physical contact to bridge the distance and enhance the atmosphere. 2. Reprimanding sternly, then why aren't you addressing me as senior? Where are your manners? 3. Pulling her abruptly into an embrace while gently warning her to watch out for traffic. Ha, I didn't expect that either, I replied with a laugh. Then I opened the bag of sweet chestnuts and began eating, only to frown and complain, ugh, your chestnuts taste a bit off, almost like they've gone bad. Oh, really? She looked surprised, so I handed her the chestnut bag. Try one yourself. As we ate chestnuts together, Sulishwan tried one and chuckled that it tasted fine, suggesting the one I'd eaten earlier might have been bad. I nodded thoughtfully while she complained half the chestnuts bought last time at Wanda Plaza were rotten. When I laughingly asked why she didn't demand a refund, she sighed that the tattooed shop owner looked too intimidating. I couldn't help laughing and agreed there was really no solution then. This trivial conversation unexpectedly warmed the atmosphere between us. Along the way, I followed the system's prompts to engage her with topics and references she cared about. When discussing subjects she valued, she'd passionately share her views. Within mere minutes, we'd transformed from strangers into enthusiastic conversation partners. She was also surprised that she could chat so deeply with a guy she just met. We talked about trivial things, but she loved the atmosphere of our conversation, and I felt the same way. As we walked and laughed to a crossroads with a red light, the smile never left her face. She thought I was witty, much more interesting than those schoolmates who showed off their looks or wealth just to ask for her WeChat. Noticing the fork in the road ahead, she felt a pang of disappointment because she had to cross the street to catch the bus back to school. Juhai University wasn't far from this snack street, just 2 bus stops away, and many students came here when they couldn't stand the cafeteria food. With a smile, she pointed to the bus stop across the street and casually asked which way I was heading. I hesitated for a moment. My apartment was in the opposite direction, and after talking for so long, I still hadn't asked for her WeChat. If we parted like this, I didn't even know if I'd ever see her again. While I was hesitating, the system options popped up. One suggested inviting her to my place to see my bed, another claimed my cat could breathe fire, do backflips, and talk, asking her to come see, while a third politely proposed exchanging WeChat to show her around the neighborhood sometime. I vetoed the first one. Torn between the second and third options, I leaned toward the third, wanting to get her contact info. But when the words reached my lips, I couldn't bring myself to say them. It was my first time asking a girl for her WeChat, especially one this pretty. More pedestrians gradually gathered around us at the traffic light, many stealing glances at her. Already socially awkward, I found it even harder to speak up under all those watchful eyes. I gave an awkward smile, ignored the system's suggestions, jutted my chin toward my neighborhood, and stiffly said, "I live over there." The smile on her face visibly dimmed. Just then, the traffic light turned green, and pedestrians began crossing the street. With a friendly smile, she tentatively asked if she could go ahead and board the bus. I forced out a strained okay and watched as she followed the crowd across the street. After she disappeared into the crowd, I angrily scolded myself. Why be such a coward? Was it really so hard to ask for her WeChat? It's not like she'd bite. Who cares what others think? I'd been too engrossed in our conversation earlier and didn't notice how much her affection points might have risen. But she kept smiling the whole time. I'm sure if I'd asked for her WeChat, she would have agreed. Yet my social anxiety made it impossible to muster the courage to speak up in front of so many people. I let out a long, wistful sigh and shuffled zombie-like toward my apartment complex, clutching the bag of now-cold chestnuts. A few minutes later, a familiar voice called out, "Wait up." I froze in surprise, turning to see Sulashwan running toward me with chestnuts in hand under the sunset, her long hair dyed gold like a lively sprite. She stopped before me, panting as she asked if I lived nearby. Nervously, I answered truthfully. With some embarrassment, she complained about the poor cafeteria food at school, explaining this street was the only place nearby with decent eats, then asked if we could exchange WeChat so I could show her good restaurants next time she visited. I couldn't believe it. I never expected her to ask for my WeChat first. Snapping out of my daze, I fumbled for my phone to add her contact. Her WeChat ID read Lu, who hates 8 a.m. classes. Cheerfully, she said she was heading back to share the chestnuts and watch horror movies with her dorm mates. I nodded eagerly, telling her to travel safely and message me before her next visit. She smiled sweetly, waved her hand, and said goodbye. Like a fool, I waved back until she boarded the bus. Only then did I pick up my phone and look at the newly added WeChat contact, a grin spreading across my face. As the sun set, I couldn't help but raise my arms and shout, "Damn it, I'm done being a goblin." Chapter 7, The 3 Great Illusions of Life. Walking home, I couldn't wait to converse with the system in my mind. System, how much has Sulashwan's favorability towards me increased? Judging from Sulashwan's behavior just now, I'm both delighted and thrilled, thinking her favorability towards me must have soared above 20 points. Ding! Sulashwan's favorability towards the host is only 7 points. Keep up the good work. How much? The mechanical electronic voice in my ear instantly dashed my hopeful mood into the depths of despair. System, are you sure you didn't make a mistake? The atmosphere between us was so harmonious just now. She even proactively asked for my WeChat and sweetly called me Senior Shinlang. How could her favorability be a mere 7 points? That's even lower than the landlady's. It's indeed 7 o'clock. Keep up the good work, host. She took the initiative to add me on WeChat. So why is the favorability so low? Recalling Sulxian's sweet smile and comparing it with this pitiful favorability level, I couldn't help but feel a bit defeated. I think if the favorability were truly this low, she wouldn't have actively added me on WeChat. Could she possibly be a player? Otherwise, why would she proactively add me with such minimal favorability? Host, the reason she addressed you as senior was merely out of politeness. In your previous conversations, you consistently chose responses that were correct and aligned with her preferences. The all-knowing system comforted and explained, girls her age all tend to like witty and humorous guys, that's why she added you on WeChat. Only after this explanation from the system did I snap out of that inexplicable sense of loss. Isn't this textbook Life's 3 Biggest Illusions? I can turn the tables. My phone's ringing, it must be her. She likes you. Actually, this reaction was quite normal. Being introverted and having little interaction with girls, it was natural for me to mistake a beautiful, cheerful, and polite girl asking for my WeChat as romantic interest when encountering such a situation for the first time. To put it another way, if she developed overwhelming favorability after just more than 10 minutes of conversation, I'd find her too frivolous, definitely not my type. What's more, Sulashwan has at least grown quite fond of me. Isn't that better than those pathetic simps who've been fawning for years or even decades, yet barely exchanged a few words with their goddess? Isn't every guy's worst fear while chasing a girl that no matter how much effort they put in, she remains as unmovable as a rock? Thinking this way, I quickly let go of my worries. Pursuing a girl is actually like fighting a boss in a game. As long as you follow the strategy guide carefully, you won't go wrong. Besides, I'm practically a player with cheat codes enabled, so naturally I have nothing to fear. I took out my phone, found Sulashwan's WeChat, and sent a message, "Have you arrived at school yet?" After a brief wait, the WeChat notification chimed. However, it wasn't from Sulashwan, it was from the landlady I had added that afternoon. "Blooming seasons, Shaoshan, have you eaten? Would you like to come over for a meal? I made it myself." Giggles. The message was accompanied by a screenshot showing a few homemade dishes that looked quite appetizing. In the screenshot, there was also a little girl with twin braids, sitting across the table with chopsticks held high in her hands, smiling brightly, utterly adorable. 1. Thank you, sis Xia. These dishes look incredibly tempting, but I've already eaten. Maybe next time. 2. Landlady, please behave yourself. We've known each other for less than half a day and you're already inviting me over. I'm still a pure young man, you know. 3. The food looks delicious, very appetizing. This little girl must be your daughter, Ms. Xia, right? She's so adorable. After dismissing option 2, I pondered between responses 1 and 3, both of which seemed reasonable. Just as I was about to choose one, I suddenly recalled a short video I'd seen before. The video claimed that if you wanted to pique the interest of a divorced woman or widow, you had to go all out being nice to her child. I wasn't clear about Xia Shuyi's family situation though, but since she dared to openly invite a man to her house for dinner, it must mean she's either divorced or her husband isn't home. Besides, this little girl is genuinely adorable, and I truly meant every word of that compliment. I quickly typed out option 3's response and hit send, adding a thumbs up emoji. In an instant, a system notification chimed in my ear. Ding! Xia Shuyi's favorability towards the host has increased by 5 points, now at 15 points. Keep up the good work. Holy crap, a whole 5 points from just one sentence? Those short videos weren't lying to me. I thought gleefully, just as Xia Shuyi replied, she's just a bit mischievous though, always making a ruckus, basically a total tomboy. LOL. She spoke modestly, yet the message still came with a screenshot of her little daughter attached. Clearly, she cared deeply about her child. Actually, it makes sense when you think about it. What parent in this world doesn't adore their own child? Especially someone like Xia Shuyi, who might be a divorced single mother. She'd naturally cherish her child more than the average family. Girls can be a bit mischievous when they're little. My sister was the same way back then. And so, I steered the conversation towards Xia Shuyi's daughter. It was as if I'd unlocked Xia Shuyi's chatterbox. Her replies shifted from text to voice messages. After nearly 15 minutes of conversation, I tactfully wrapped things up. Well, Xiajia, I just finished dinner here. I'll drop by for another meal next time. Flowers bloom in all seasons. Cute. Looking at the emoji stickers following the message, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. When an older sister starts acting adorable, it's really hard to resist. Ding! Xia Shuyi's favorability toward the host has increased by 9 points, currently at 24 points. Keep up the good work. That was too fast. I gulped, overwhelmed by this inexplicable achievement. I used to somewhat distrust those playboys exposed online. The news says they can sweet-talk a girl they just met into bed within a day, swindle all her assets within 2 days, and leave her both financially and emotionally devastated by the third. I think women in today's society are all as shrewd as monkeys, not so easily fooled. Those claims don't seem exaggerated after all. I even feel that if the conversation goes well, it might take less than a day to turn a girl into a woman. The techniques of chatting are truly outrageous, so manipulative of people's hearts. As I think about the tabloid gossip online and see Xia Shuyi's adorable, playful emoji, I can't help but recall the landlady's still alluring, matured feminine figure. If Xia Shuyi's affection for me maxes out, could I play some adult games with this older sister? Chapter 8, The Female Elf Who Loves Horror Movies. Don't be fooled by Xia Shuyi's current affection rating being a mere 24 points toward me. Keep in mind, we've known each other for less than 2 hours and haven't even talked much. What's more, this is an affection rating, the most candid reflection of what the opposite sex truly thinks of me deep down, essentially a scorecard for my various behaviors in their eyes. To put it crudely, it's like a keycard that gauges how willing a girl might be to engage in deeper conversations with me. Just a few words were enough to significantly boost the affection of someone as worldly as Xia Shuyi, showcasing just how exaggerated this system's capabilities are. It's in an entirely different league compared to those commitment-phobic playboys you find online. Of course, the system mentioned it would calculate response options for me to choose based on the other person's information, but whether I can increase their favorability towards me ultimately depends on my own choices. Back home, Sulishwan's chat window finally lit up. Just finished showering, about to watch a horror movie with my roommates, Korea's #1 horror film, Ganjiam, Haunted Asylum. Feeling smug. After the smug emoji came a screenshot of a selfie. I clicked to enlarge it and immediately felt a flush of heat. The photo showed a laptop on a table playing the horror movie, but right below the screen's perspective was a pair of slender, perfectly symmetrical feet, delicate yet still softly rounded, still glistening faintly with droplets of water. She really had just gotten out of the shower. I noticed in the photo Sulishwan sent me that there were several other girls in the frame, all quite attractive. Especially the short-haired girl eating potato chips closest to her. Her beauty was completely on par with Sulishwan's. She had a perfectly oval face with striking large eyes, a high nose bridge above cherry-red lips, and skin so fair and delicate it looked dewy. The other girls were hugging pillows while visibly trembling, appearing both curious and too frightened to look properly. I figured this was just a casual snapshot. Sulishwan wasn't the type to show a guy her legs upon first meeting. Sure enough, she quickly deleted the screenshot and sent an awkward emoji asking, "Did you see it?" The system provided 3 response options. To be perfectly honest, my inner obsessive leg fetishist really wanted to choose "I saw them, and I want to lick them from top to bottom." But I knew choosing this would definitely earn me a red exclamation mark in my WeChat chat box. In the end, I opted for, saw it. Your roommate's way too timid, this movie really wasn't that scary. I'm dying. Face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Anyway, if we keep chatting like this, there'll come a day when I can personally caress those jade-like feet. Actually, Sulishwan just wanted to casually send me a photo of her watching a horror movie with her roommate, but accidentally captured both their legs in the frame. Luckily, I didn't notice that at first, focusing only on the computer screen, which made her slightly relieved. Her mood lifted as she quickly tapped out a reply to me on the screen. She told me it was the top horror film from Korea, and on its premiere day, it even scared someone to death. I replied that I wasn't scared watching it alone at night. She praised me for being brave, admitting she couldn't watch it alone but couldn't resist her fascination, just like her roommates who were all timid yet obsessed with horror. The system presented 3 reply options again, and I chose share the 30-second video from your TikTok favorites with her and tell her that learning the tricks in the video will help her not be afraid. I was surprised as I opened Douyin, scrolled to the 30-second video in my favorites, and immediately burst into laughter the moment I played it. I sent it to Sulishwan, telling her to learn from the method in the video so she wouldn't be afraid of watching horror movies anymore. Curious, Sulishwan clicked on the video. The content showed a girl watching a horror movie. When the terrifying ghost appeared, she got frightened, but the next second she took out her phone and played In the Night Garden, clapping her hands and cheering herself on while shouting Maka Paka along with the show. After watching it, she laughed so hard her whole body shook, drawing puzzled looks from her roommate watching horror movies nearby. Lowering her phone screen, she lay on the bed facing the wall, barely holding back laughter as she typed, saying the video was absolutely hilarious. I asked her if she felt less scared now, and she replied that she actually did, but she wouldn't dare to do that in the dorm. Her roommate already thought she'd lost her mind. At this moment, the system's voice rang in my ears. Ding. Sulishwan's favorability toward the host has increased by 2 points, currently at 9 points. Keep up the good work. Hearing this, I felt super motivated. It seems I've struck another topic she's interested in. Next, I focused on selecting the correct responses provided by the system. Every time I sent the right choice, her replies came swiftly, almost immediately. Sometimes, while I was still typing one sentence, she'd already sent her third reply. The more we chatted, the more emojis she used. Almost every message began or ended with cute, girly stickers. I could sense how eager she was to keep the conversation going. Even after the 2-hour horror movie ended, she remained immersed in our lively chat, completely unaware that her roommates had quietly crawled onto her bed, sneakily reading over our conversation. It wasn't until a roommate read aloud her message in a deliberately playful tone that she snapped out of her thoughts, noticing all roommates giving her knowing smiles. Blushing with a racing heart, she turned off her phone screen. Her roommate's burning curiosity about the mystery guy made them press for details, but she evaded by insisting he was just a regular friend, quickly changing the subject by asking why they weren't watching horror movies anymore. Seeing her stubborn refusal to admit anything, the roommates tactfully dropped the questioning, and the dorm room buzzed back to chatter. The short-haired girl closed the horror movie webpage and launched a game for ranked matches. During matchmaking downtime, she climbed onto Sulishwan's bed and whispered, "Is this guy from our school?" This short-haired girl is Yi Xinshin, a friend Sulishwan has known since junior high. Their parents get along well, and they've grown up together like sisters since childhood. Unlike Sulishwan, Yi Xinshin is a playgirl online. She's a gaming enthusiast but terrible at playing games, so she posts pretty pictures on gaming forums to attract nerdy guys to help boost her rank. Her voice was sickly sweet, her words impeccably crafted. Even minor celebrity male streamers had served as her enforcers. My name is Shin Lang, and I just moved into a new house recently. Apart from the basic daily necessities delivered last night, there's nothing else in the house. Early the next morning, I rode my electric scooter to the supermarket near the neighborhood to stock up on supplies. Around 9 o'clock, I returned to the neighborhood on my electric scooter. This neighborhood is quite convenient, with a dedicated electric bike charging station, so you don't have to run extension cords from upstairs. I had just plugged in my electric bike to charge when a familiar woman's voice called out behind me. It was landlord Mrs. Xiaoshui, holding the hand of a little girl with a ponytail, the same child from yesterday's photo. The weather was pleasant today. Xiaoshui wore a black chiffon jumpsuit, her jet black hair elegantly pinned up. Beneath her slender, fair neck, the plunging neckline revealed a generous expanse of milky skin and seductive collarbones. Her figure was enchantingly curvaceous, exuding the full allure of a sophisticated homemaker. I noticed she was also carrying a supermarket shopping bag, its logo identical to the one on mine, filled with fruits and vegetables. I smiled and tried to strike up a conversation. "Miss Xia, you went to Baihui too? I didn't see you there earlier." Xiaoshui flashed a warm smile. "Actually, I spotted you, but it was so crowded in the supermarket today. Being a Saturday, I hesitated to call out to you." Just as I was about to reply, the duck toy on the electric bike suddenly quacked. The little girl, startled, quickly withdrew her small hand, and hurriedly ran to Xiaoshui's side, clutching her thigh. She hid her little head beneath the skirt, occasionally peeking out to size me up with curious eyes. On the other side, there was a girl named Yushinshin who would promptly kick out any in-game boosters if they suggested meeting in real life or video calls, then move on to the next sucker willing to carry her for free. In her eyes, gaming and reality should be kept separate. She had no tolerance for lazy, unambitious guys who stayed holed up at home playing video games all day, though if they were handsome enough, she might make an exception. Sulishuan told Yushinshin that she met a guy while buying chestnuts in the afternoon. Yushinshin couldn't believe it and warned her not to run into a scumbag, mentioning how Li Hai from the economics department had been pursuing her for months without getting any response. Sulishian was too embarrassed to admit that she was actually the one who asked for my WeChat first, simply saying that I seemed very nervous talking to her and gave off a somewhat socially awkward vibe. Yushinshin thought that cheaters were great actors, so she asked Sulishuan to show her the chat records to vet them. Sulishuan handed her phone over and even pulled up our conversation. Yushinshin watched for a while, her heart palpitated slightly. She felt I had a skill for conversation, effortlessly breaking down Sulishuan's reserved defenses. Sulishuan, who initially pretended to be aloof, gradually became more and more engrossed in the chat. During her review, Sulishuan was surprised to realize how much we had actually talked. Nervously, she asked Yushinshin if I was a player, to which Yushinshin gave an ambiguous reply, saying it would be an overreaction to label me a player based solely on the chat history. Yushinshin suddenly thought to check my moments, saying that a player's moments would radiate availability, and guys are pretty much the same, with some added melancholic vibes. Sulishuan was utterly confused. Yushinshin opened my moments. I hadn't set them to 3-day visibility, they were all gaming related, with some self-motivating discipline posts sprinkled in, like, November 24th, Challenger Tier, 21 kills, details make or break, greatness is no accident. November 28th, new patch, double server 1K LP with spatula, flex. December 21st, New Year's coming, gotta hustle for that down payment. December 23rd, my life's been like treading thin ice, will I ever reach the other side? Apart from writing code, I spend most of my time gaming, and I'm pretty good at it, capable of holding my own against professional players and famous streamers. I once considered becoming a game streamer myself, but unfortunately, my social anxiety and lack of eloquence made me give up on the idea. Yushinshin couldn't find any so-called approachability topics in my social media posts. She handed the phone back to Sulishuan, teasing her about why she'd take a liking to a gaming nerd like me. Sulishuan clarified that we were just ordinary friends and wondered how anyone could tell I wasn't a player just by looking at my social media. Yushinshin said that not having my WeChat moments set to visible for 3 days proves I have no hidden agendas, and moreover, she's never seen a player whose entire feed is just gaming content. She also mentioned that I'm pretty good at gaming, joking that if Sulishuan wasn't interested in me, she'd ask for my contact herself so she could get her alt account to King Tier 2. Sulishuan pouted playfully, burrowing under the blankets with her phone, scrolling through my moments with a faint smile before murmuring, "At least you're not a player." See? Such a mischievous little thing. Xia Shuyi ruffled her daughter's hair, her exasperated smile brimming with affection. I chuckled dismissively. Just then, the system options appeared again. 1. Take the duck toy off and give it to Xia Mengmeng, ask about her age or grade, and engage in friendly interaction. 2. Seriously educate Xia Mengmeng, warning her that those who steal needles when young will steal gold when grown. 3. Kneel down in front of Xia Mengmeng, smile and say, "This duck isn't fun, do you want to see Big Brother's Big Duck?" I said to Xia Shuyi, all girls are mischievous when they're young. My sister was especially worrisome when she was little. Then I removed the duck toy from the car hood, knelt down in front of Xia Mengmeng, squeezed the duck toy twice making it quack. "Come here, Mengmeng, Big Brother will give this duck to you." Xia Shuyi waved her hand and said, "No need, Shaoshan." I chuckled, "It's fine, got it cheap from PDD, just a few bucks." Xia Mengmeng reached out her hand but quickly withdrew it, tilting her head up to gaze at her mother with hopeful round eyes. Xia Shuyi ruffled her daughter's hair and said, "Silly girl, aren't you going to thank your brother?" Xia Mengmeng stepped out from behind Xia Shuyi's legs, timidly took the duck, and said in a crisp voice, "Thank you, brother Shaoshan." "You're welcome," I replied with a smile, reaching out to ruffle her hair while deliberately guessing with feigned curiosity. "Let me guess, Mengmeng is in the middle class of kindergarten this year, right?" The little girl shook her head like a rattledrum, correcting me in her childish voice, "I'm already in the senior class." "Wow, the senior class? Mengmeng is so amazing." I exaggerated my surprise to praise her. Actually, Xia Shuyi had already told me all the basic information about this little one last night. I intentionally guessed wrong just so she could proudly state her real grade, allowing me to smoothly follow up with compliments. After all, most children love showing off in front of strangers, and I have 2 such little girls at home. Shame they've both grown up now. At that moment, the system chimed, ding. Xia Shuyi's favorability toward the host has increased by 6 points. Current total, 30 points. Keep up the good work. Just as I thought, I murmured, rubbing the little girl's head before standing up. Apparently, the best way to catch a single mother's attention is to be kind to her child rather than just exchanging pleasantries. Xia Shuyi watched our interaction with a touched expression, the heartwarming scene stirring waves of happiness in the heart of this divorced single mother. She smiled and asked me, Xiaoshen, are you free at noon? Want to come over to my place for lunch? Since you're just going to grab something quick alone anyway, why not join me? I'll make sweet and sour pork ribs for you. The system popped up options again. 1. I'd love to, but what if your husband comes back and misunderstands? 2. I don't want sweet and sour pork ribs. Sis, can you make abalone for me instead? 3. I can, and I'd really like to try your cooking, Sister Xia, but wouldn't it be inconvenient? I scratched my head sheepishly and said, I can, and I'd really like to try your cooking, Sister Xia, but wouldn't it be inconvenient? Xia Shuyi replied readily, of course it's convenient. It's just me and my daughter at home. There's nothing inconvenient about it. Just come over. Understanding now that she was indeed divorced, I agreed bashfully, Sister Xia, tell me where you live, and I'll come find you after I drop my things off at home. It's in Building 3, Unit 1702. Okay. It's getting late, I should head back to prepare dinner. Xia Shuyi lowered her head to remind the little girl, Meng Meng, say goodbye to Brother Shen. The sensible little girl waved at me, squeezing her toy duck to make a quacking sound. Goodbye, Brother Shen, thank you for the ducky. No need to thank me. I waved back at them, watching Xia Shuyi's retreating figure, feeling an inexplicable flutter in my heart. We hadn't known each other long, yet we were already close enough for me to be invited to her place for a meal. I got home, quickly arranged some daily necessities, played a couple of games, and soon received a WeChat message from Shu Xia asking me to come over. The thought of dining at a single woman's home where she's raising a child made me quite nervous. I initially considered bringing some fruit, but then thought since it's just a casual meal and we meet often, bringing gifts might seem too formal, so I went empty-handed. Arriving at Shu Xia's door in Building 3, I caught the scent of frying oil with a hint of sweetness in the air. This traditional neighborhood has a warm, lived-in atmosphere where neighbors actually interact, unlike high-end communities where people barely acknowledge each other. What's more, these buildings stand on some of the most expensive land in Jianhai City, each unit worth at least hundreds of millions. And the sole owner of these properties, the landlady with assets exceeding 9 figures, was right inside. I pressed the doorbell and heard Xia Shuyi say, Meng Meng, Brother Shen is here. Mommy's busy right now, go open the door for him. Oh, with a cheerful patter of footsteps, the security door swung open. Xia Mengmeng peeked out her head and beamed at me with delighted recognition. Brother Xiaoshen, you're here. Kids warm up to people naturally, and coupled with the good impression I made on her, plus her mom's fondness for me, she bounded over to me in delight, plopping onto my lap. Tilting her little face up, she chirped, Brother Shen, Mom made sweet and sour ribs today. I closed the door, lifted her up with one arm, held her in my embrace, and asked, does Mengmeng really love sweet and sour pork ribs? The little girl seemed a bit shy, quietly nodding her head while stealing glances at me. Hearing the commotion, Xia Shuyi came out holding a spatula. Have a seat first, I'll just make some soup and then we can eat. I noticed she had changed into a black bodycon dress, often called a stepmother dress, her slender legs encased in nude stockings, her curvaceous figure perfectly accentuated. At our first meeting, I thought she was rather ordinary, but who knew she'd look so elegant in this outfit? I glanced over and politely said, no need to go through so much trouble, anything simple will do. Xia Shuyi smiled while waving the spatula, it's no trouble at all. You and Mengmeng can watch some TV first, it'll be ready soon. Then she headed back to the kitchen with a hint of disappointment, muttering to herself, have I gained weight recently? Turns out she had gathered the courage to wear this bold outfit, hoping for my compliments, but unfortunately I didn't react much. Meanwhile, the little girl and I sat on the living room sofa watching TV. A cartoon was playing on the TV, with the little chatterbox beside me eagerly explaining the plot. Though my mind wasn't really on the show, I responded enthusiastically while curiously eyeing the mother-daughter duo's living space. Finally, my gaze unexpectedly landed on the retreating figure of Xia Shuyi in the kitchen. From my angle, I could clearly see her bustling about. She was deftly chopping scallions while occasionally lifting the pot lid to check on the simmering soup. She wore that alluring stepmother dress, exuding a blend of domestic charm and sensuality, with an indescribable coquettishness shimmering between the lines. Particularly that full, pert, and tantalizingly round backside of hers. What man wouldn't feel the impulse to step forward and gently embrace her from behind? Add to that her net worth of hundreds of millions. Even with a child in tow and a divorce under her belt, she could probably induce Chow Chow syndrome in countless men, willingly prostrating themselves before her beguiling allure. Chapter 12, I like older women. I want to sit next to Big Brother Shen. As soon as dinner was ready, Xia Mengmeng eagerly pushed her exclusive cartoon stool over, bouncing with excitement as she settled beside me. Her adorable antics drew an affectionate smile from Xia Shuyi. Look at this, they say daughters are their mother's little comfort. But how quickly she's taken someone else's side. I'd grown quite fond of this little girl. Reaching over, I placed a sweet and sour pork rib on her plate. She devoured it delightedly, her round eyes narrowing to happy crescents. Watching our affectionate interaction, Xia Shuyi revealed a gratified and contented smile, and I inexplicably sensed a warm, familial atmosphere. There are quite a few lonely single mothers like Xia Shuyi in the materialistic city of Shanghai. They own million-dollar mansions, luxury sports cars, and wealth that ordinary people could hardly attain in a lifetime, yet they lack only love and familial bonds. Confronted with lavish furnishings and an empty, sprawling house, they are haunted by an inescapable sense of loneliness. They yearn, like any ordinary woman, for the sense of belonging in a simple family, to have a man they can depend on. But their excessively privileged assets only attract opportunistic men. In such an environment, though they gradually grow numb and accustomed to facing this material world alone, deep down they forever hope for a man who can ease the void in their hearts. To Xia Shuyi, the somewhat shy yet sincere young man, seemed to be the one who had caught her favor. Ding! Xia Shuyi's favorability toward the host has increased by 10 points. Current favorability, 40 points. Keep up the good work. Damn near choked on my food. I didn't even do anything. How did the landlady's favorability suddenly jump so high? After dinner, Xia Shuyi cleared the table. With her wealth, she could easily afford a housekeeper to handle the daily chores for her and her daughter. But given the current controversies surrounding domestic helpers, and with her beloved daughter being her top priority, she preferred not to involve outsiders in their private lives. So, she handled these trivial tasks herself. Miss Xia, let me help. I rolled up my sleeves to assist, but Xia Shuyi shook her head with a smile and gave me a chiding look. Go on now. What kind of host would make a guest help? It's fine, I often do chores at home. I neatly gathered the dishes and headed toward the kitchen. Oh, Xiaoshen, you're too polite. Xia Shuyi followed behind me with a joyful grin, and we stood side by side at the sink, scrubbing the dishes together. Glancing at me washing the dishes so earnestly, her cheeks flushed slightly. It felt as if we were a married couple. Ahem, Xiaoshen, I remember you mentioned you just graduated recently? Xia Shuyi cleared her throat, initiating the conversation. What do you do for work now? I didn't beat around the bush. I'm not afraid you'll laugh, Sister Xia. I'm an online writer. Online writer? Yeah, I write novels on the internet. Wow, I never knew you were such a successful writer. Xia Shuyi exclaimed in surprise. I scratched my head sheepishly and self-deprecatingly replied, what successful writer? I only make 5,000 or 6,000 a month, barely enough for porridge money. That's still quite good. Xia Shuyi comforted me like an understanding older sister. Just look how hard it is to earn money in Shanghai City these days. Many college graduates slave away for just 2,000 or 3,000 a month. You're already doing great. It has to be said, there's a good reason most men are drawn to mature women. They truly understand the unspoken hardships in a man's life. Whether it's career or personal struggles, they always know how to soothe a man's inner fragility with simple words. So Xiaoshen, does your girlfriend not live with you? What does she do for work? Xia Shuyi asked casually, her gaze fixed on the dishes in the sink, though her scrubbing motions became noticeably more vigorous. Several options popped into my mind. 1. I hardly ever leave the house. Where would I even get the chance to meet girls? When I see one on the street, I'm too nervous to even speak. 2. I just met a girl yesterday, really pretty, and she goes to the same university as me. I'm planning to ask her out. 3. What's so great about those young girls? I prefer married women, especially ones with kids. They're my favorite. I still understand the principle of not talking about other women in front of a woman. I stay indoors all day, how would I even have the chance to meet girls? I joked self-deprecatingly. When I see girls on the street, I don't even dare to speak. Is that so? Xia Shuyi smiled sweetly, her dishwashing motions softening. Xiaoshen, what do you think? Pop, pop, crack. A sudden burst of firecrackers outside the window startled her awake. Xia Mengmeng covered her ears, bouncing excitedly as she ran in, tugging at my pants and pointing outside, shouting, Brother Shen, they're setting off firecrackers outside, I can't see. Carry me so I can watch. Alright. I wiped my wet hands, took hold of her chubby little fingers, and lifted her to sit on my shoulders. She happily hugged my neck, her short legs swinging back and forth, urging me on, hurry, Brother Shen, the firecrackers will be over soon. Okay. I laughed and nodded. As I walked out of the kitchen, I called back, Xiajia, what were you saying earlier? No, nothing. Xia Shuyi forced an awkward smile. Take Mengmeng to see the firecrackers. Looks like the young couple across the street just got married. I nodded, grabbing the little one's chubby thighs as we ran to the window, shouting, let's watch the firecrackers. Amid Xia Mengmeng's delighted laughter, I heard Xia Shuyi mutter under her breath with mixed amusement and frustration, that darn kid, always ruining my plans. After washing the dishes, Xia Shuyi put away the bowls and chopsticks, dried her hands, and came to the living room. She saw me lifting Xia Mengmeng onto my shoulders by the window. The little girl was pointing at the wedding cars outside with unrestrained glee. Whenever firecrackers went off, she considerately covered my ears with her tiny hands. Our laughter, one deep and one high-pitched, filled the room with infectious joy. The brilliant sunlight bathed us in its warmth, and this cozy scene made Xia Shuyi giggle dreamily as she murmured to herself, if only we could stay like this forever. Chapter 13, Did she divorce because her husband wasn't good enough? Ding! Host, Xia Shuyi's favorability towards you has increased by 5 points, currently at 45 points. Keep up the good work. Hearing the system's voice in my mind, I turned my head in surprise, only to see Xia Shuyi leaning against the kitchen doorway, gazing at me with a blissful and contented smile. The system capable of probing deep into human psychological data made me unconsciously touch my nose in discomfort, as I reached up to lift the fidgety little one off my neck. Xiajia, it's getting late, I should head back now. Ha, stay and play a little longer, it's still early. Xia Shuyi's tone clearly carried reluctance. I bought some cherries today, let me wash them for you and Meng Meng to eat, okay? Yeah, big brother, play a little longer. Xia Meng Meng was equally reluctant to see me go. She adored her tall big brother, clinging to my large hand while showering me with affection. I thought to myself, disapproving, what's there to play? Your daughter's at home, you won't let me play with her anyway, so why stay? Blaming fate, TSK, says, you're so wealthy, you must get to play every day. I'm different, I need to earn my keep. Playing hard to get, Sister Xia, I'd love to stay and play a bit longer, but if I don't update my novel today, I'll lose my monthly bonus. So I said aloud, I'd love to stay and play a bit longer, but if I don't update my novel today, I'll lose my monthly bonus. Then I crouched down and pinched Xia Mengming's chubby cheeks gently. Be good, next time brother visits, I'll bring you another little duck to play with. Alright then, the little girl pouted, nodding reluctantly. Xiaoshun, come by again this evening. Xia Shuyi invited me once more. I'm making black chicken soup tonight. Why don't you stop by for some? Sorry, Sister Xia, I'm heading to my mom's place tonight. I scratched my head, maybe in a few days. I'll come try your cooking when I'm free. Alright then. Xia Shuyi smiled helplessly as she watched me open the door to leave. When the door closed, I could picture Xia Shuyi staring at the empty living room, feeling an inexplicable emptiness wash over her. After all these years, she thought she'd grown accustomed to this loneliness. But gazing at the vast living room and her dispirited daughter squeezing a rubber duck on the sofa, her heart must have ached with indescribable bitterness. Meng Meng, it's time for your nap. I could almost hear her let out a faint sigh before heading back to her room to change into pajamas for her afternoon rest. I don't want a nap, I want to play with brother Xiaoshan, the little girl pouted unhappily, rolling around on the sofa. Be good. Xia Shuyi called out lazily, just as a WeChat notification chimed from her phone. When she checked her phone, she saw my message, sleep till dawn, sis, thanks for the hospitality today. Xia Shuyi smiled faintly and tapped on the screen with her delicate fingers. For seasons of peace, don't mention it, it's just a meal. You're welcome to come anytime if you're free. I'll always be happy to have you. Sleep till sunrise, sounds good. I'll get back to work then. For seasons of peace, MHM. I think she assumed I had nothing else to say, but the moment she returned to her bedroom and slipped the straps of her dress off her shoulders, I sent another message, sleep till sunrise. By the way, sis, that outfit looks really good on you. The dress suits you perfectly, I was blown away when you walked in. It's just that I'm kinda socially awkward, so I couldn't bring myself to compliment you in person. Seeing this message, Xia Shuyi must be overjoyed. She probably thought I hadn't noticed her changes, but actually, I saw it the moment I walked in. At this moment, she's like a young girl being confessed to by her crush, both surprised and delighted. Really? I thought I was too old to wear clothes meant for young girls. Sleep till dawn? Not at all, sister. It suits you perfectly. Thumbs up plus rose. Peace all year, thank you. Cute. We chatted briefly for a while longer, and I could easily picture Xia Shuyi happily turning off her phone screen. She clutched the warm device, lying on the bed for a long while before finally getting up to put away her old-fashioned pajamas, then eagerly tiptoed to the mirror, swaying her slender waist left and right. She studied her still charming reflection in the mirror, and the emptiness she'd felt moments ago vanished instantly, replaced by an inexplicable thrill. Moving to the bathroom vanity, she spent a long time carefully grooming herself before grabbing her Chanel bag and slipping into a pair of sky-high heels she hadn't worn in ages. With bubbling excitement, she called out to her daughter, "Come on, Meng Meng. No nap today, let's go shopping with mommy." Yay! Mommy's the best. Ding! Host's favorability rating with Xia Shuyi has increased by 5 points. Current, 50 points. Keep up the good work. Ding! Host's favorability rating with Xia Shuyi has reached 50 points. Would you like to view her personal information? Ding! Host's favorability rating with Xia Shuyi has reached 50 points. Obtained a mystery treasure chest. Would you like to open it? View personal information. Hearing the system prompt in my ear, I couldn't wait to check Xia Shuyi's personal details. Actually, I hadn't planned to continue chatting with Xia Shuyi on WeChat when I got home, but noticing I only needed 5 more points to unlock her personal information and obtain a mysterious treasure chest, I decided to initiate the conversation. With the system's assistance, I successfully surpassed the 50-point requirement, gaining access to Xia Shui's personal details along with a mysterious treasure chest. Name, Xia Shui. Gender, female. Age, 36. Appearance score, 8.9. Height, 168 cm. Weight, 54 kg. Hobbies, yoga, shopping, playing mahjong. Measurements, 85 centimeters, 52 centimeters, 92 centimeters. Affection level towards host, 50. Marital status, divorced with children. Current mood, excited, full of anticipation for the future. Current location, Fulong residential area parking lot. Experience, 12 times. Ha, only 12 times? I froze for a moment before chuckling helplessly and quipping. Could it be that she got divorced because her husband couldn't get the job done? Xia Shui is 36 years old and still raising a child. Under these circumstances, her experience with intimacy amounts to only 12 times, which is truly too few. Thinking about her still charming, graceful figure and seeing this pitifully low number, I inexplicably felt a surge of restlessness. They say women her age usually have particularly strong desires, though I'm not sure if that's true or not. Xia Shui's affection for me is only at 50 points, just half of the maximum. With other women, this score would have been enough for me to take them out for a movie and a meal, and it'd be a guaranteed home run. In other words, whether it's a man or a woman, the other party doesn't necessarily need to reach 100 affinity points to be willing to play some fun games with you. It still depends on their attitude and personality. If the other person is relatively open or less reserved, you might be able to play poker together once their favorability reaches just 20 or 30 points. So, 50 points of favorability is exceptionally high, akin to a young woman at the peak of infatuation. Even someone as experienced and traditionally reserved as Xia Shui can't resist putting on a stepmother dress to catch my attention at home once her favorability hits 50. Chapter 14, What's the old man up to? Cough up some gold. I also noticed that the target's current location updates in real time. Xia Shui's location had already changed from the Fulong residential area parking lot to Jianghai City's commercial district. I murmured thoughtfully, so this is a feature that can uncover someone's deepest secrets, or rather, an ability to accelerate conquering the other person. With knowledge of their hobbies and detailed personal information, I could now precisely target key points in our conversations to boost their affection toward me when strategizing future approaches. Alright, there's still that mystery treasure chest, I suddenly realized and clapped my hands. System, open the mystery treasure chest. Ding! Congratulations, host. You've obtained a physique enhancement potion. Constitution Enhancement Serum. After consumption, the host's physical fitness will receive a tremendous boost. My eyes instantly lit up. Over the years, prolonged sitting and late nights had taken their toll on my body, leaving me with various health issues. Who would have thought that a 24-year-old young man like me could simultaneously suffer from symptoms like soreness in the lower back and knees, dizziness, tinnitus, and general lethargy? Truth be told, I'd long contemplated improving my physical condition. Unfortunately, my chronic laziness always got the better of me. Every time I considered exercising, I'd tell myself I'll start in a couple days, crafting increasingly perfect excuses to deceive myself. But now it's all good. With the Body Enhancement Serum, I can skip straight past the torment of exercise and obtain a perfectly healthy physique. As soon as the system finished speaking, a bottle of dark green liquid appeared in my hand, looking just like 6-God insect repellent. Without another thought, I twisted off the thumb-sized cap and poured the viscous liquid down my throat without leaving a single drop. Not wanting to waste any, I even rinsed the bottle with mineral water and drank that too, finally tossing the empty container away with satisfaction. The serum worked with astonishing speed. Within moments, my body began burning up as if I were in a sauna, every pore on my skin exuding scalding sweat. Every muscle in my body ached faintly, as if scabs were being torn open to let new muscle fibers emerge from beneath. The sensation was most intense around my waist and abdomen, like invisible hands performing corrective surgery inside me. Overcome by heat, I tore off my sweat-soaked clothes and rushed into the bathroom. After about 10 minutes of showering, that feeling of being remolded in a furnace vanished. I hurried to the mirror above the sink, where what greeted me was a sculpted, golden-brown physique worthy of a bodybuilding champion. Especially those 8 defined, tile-like abdominal muscles glistening with water droplets. This was the kind of physique that only existed in comic books, impressive enough to make even me, a grown man, stare dumbfounded while running my hands over my own transformed body. The most visible change in the mirror was still my young and carefree appearance, yet everything about me had undergone a monumental transformation. Wait a minute! Staring at my clearly visible reflection, I finally exclaimed in unbelievable joy, my nearsightedness is gone. Over these past few years, I had strained my eyes excessively, facing computer screens all day, and my myopia had nearly reached 800 degrees. Normally after showering without glasses, everything appeared blurry to me, but now, without glasses, my surroundings were crystal clear, sharper than average vision, as if seeing the world in 1080p Ultra HD 4K definition. Is this what the body-enhancing serum does? This is F*King amazing. I clenched my fists, sensing inexhaustible strength coursing through me, my once heavy body now feeling remarkably light. After drying my hair and getting dressed, my whole demeanor became more spirited. Unlike the listless shut-in from before, just a glance now gave off a sunny, healthy vibe. Damn, you're looking sharp, kid. I opened my phone's front camera and couldn't help admiring my transformed reflection in the mirror, boasting, wonder which lucky girl's gonna snatch you up someday. At 6 in the evening, just as I was about to head out for dinner, 2 WeChat messages popped up in quick succession. Vampire number 1, old man, new place all set up yet? I'm downstairs, come greet your guest properly. Vampire number 2, bro, sis, and I are at your neighborhood gate. The guard won't let us in without an access card. Come down and get us quick. These two were none other than my younger twin sisters, Shenlinlin and Shenranran. Just from how I'd labeled their contacts, you could tell how much these annoying little sisters got on my nerves. The twins had just turned 18 and were currently high school sophomores attending the same school. Though born mere minutes apart, their personalities were worlds different. The elder sister Linlin had been mischievous since childhood, always tagging along with me and my buddies on our adventures wherever we wandered. Things girls typically scorned, stealing bird eggs, blowing up manure pits, these were precisely what fascinated her most. As she grew older, she became even more rebellious, spewing flowery insults with her foul mouth, mastering the Zuan dialect to perfection. I even heard this bratty sister of mine got into fights with some delinquents from other schools. Ever since junior high, this girl hasn't called me brother once, mostly using derogatory nicknames instead, and now she even calls me old fart to my face. My sister Shenranran, on the other hand, was much less trouble. She'd always done well in school since childhood, with an obedient and well-behaved personality. Her only flaw was clinging to me way too much. From the time she was little, wherever I went, she'd follow me like a shadow. If I didn't take her along, she'd throw endless tantrums, snot and tears everywhere until I desperately scrambled to comfort her. That's exactly why I'm so good at handling kids, all thanks to the training from these two girls. The reason I nicknamed these sisters vampires is that ever since I graduated and started earning money writing novels, they've been finding every possible way to get money from me. Whether it's dozens or hundreds, the hard-earned money from my novel writing basically all ends up being tribute to these two girls. Their most classic line is, "What's the old man doing? Spit out some gold coins." Right at this moment, the elder sister Shenlinlin grew impatient waiting and directly video called me. I didn't even want to answer, hanging up immediately and angrily sending a panda sticker in reply. Stop fucking rushing me. Shenlinlin didn't back down either, sending back a panda emoji in response. What? Dog bark? This damn girl actually made me laugh in frustration. I truly don't understand why some guys are into these little sister types. You can't hit them, can't scold them, all you can do is pamper them like princesses, as if they were literally sent by heaven to torture me. Grabbing my keys and heading downstairs to the neighborhood plaza, I immediately spotted the two sisters in school uniforms chatting by the main gate. The sisters were easy to distinguish. The younger one, Shenranran, wore a neat high ponytail with a brilliant, sweet smile plastered on her face as she chattered enthusiastically about something with her older sister. Sister Shenlinlin sported a brisk short haircut, her face often wearing a scornful, haughty smile as she repeatedly spread her hands in gestures of disdain. Both sisters were exceptionally attractive and immensely popular in their high school. Especially the younger sister, Shenranran, with her sweet smile and kind, warm personality, she frequently received covert admiring glances from male classmates. A few of my otaku friends often joked, questioning whether I was actually picked up from somewhere by my parents. Both younger sisters were so beautiful, while as their older brother, my looks weren't even a third of theirs. To be honest, my looks aren't bad either, it's just that I've always been too low-key and gloomy. In high school, I spent all day sitting in corners glued to my phone reading novels, and after graduation, I started pulling all-nighters without restraint. Naturally, both my appearance and demeanor took a hit. As I approached the gate, my younger sister Shenranran's face instantly lit up with a cheerful smile, but just as she was about to greet me, her smile froze abruptly. Shenlinlin stared at me in even greater astonishment, as if she had just seen an alien. Amused, I tilted my chin at the sisters. What, don't recognize your brother? The atmosphere turned silent immediately. After exchanging glances, Shenlinlin, never one to mince words, blurted out in shock, "Who the fuck are you?" "I'm your fucking brother," I snapped irritably. "Has it only been a month, and you've already forgotten me?" Shenlinlin sized up the sunlit hunk before her from head to toe, her voice laced with disbelief. "Wait, you're Shenlang?" She couldn't fathom that this radiantly handsome guy was actually her shut-in older brother who used to spend all day gaming at home. Right before the sisters started school, I'd posted on my social media about committing to regular exercise. Shenlinlin had commented with sarcasm, betting I'd lose steam after just 3 days of effort like always. Who could have predicted that within this single month, this good-for-nothing big brother of theirs would actually transform through training and with such dramatic results? It's like I'd been reforged in a furnace. Shenranran ran her fingers over my defined abs, then lifted my t-shirt to reveal the sculpted ridges, squealing with delight, "Wow sis, look, big bro's got a six-pack now." Seeing those wheat-colored 8-pack abs, Shenlinlin's heart inexplicably skipped a beat. Yet, her tone remained unimpressed as she scoffed, "Pfft, must be using some protein powder or something. What's the big deal? Stop making a scene here." I pinched Shenranran's cheeks and pushed her away, adjusting my t-shirt before saying, "Cut the small talk. What brings you here? Nothing to do after school. Can't I come hang out with you?" Shenranran clung to me again, hugging my arm playfully and whining with a grin, "Bro, which building do you live in? Take us to see it, will you?" I sighed quietly and led the two sisters into the neighborhood, arriving at the single-suite apartment where I lived. Shenranran glanced around the room curiously, then took out her phone to record a video and send it to their mom for approval. She then asked in surprise, "Bro, you live here? How much is rent per month?" I tossed the keys casually onto the table. $1,000. Shenranran nodded repeatedly, thinking the price was still acceptable. "It's as messy as a dog's den," Shenlinlin complained disdainfully before turning around and flopping onto my bed. She lazily pulled out her phone and started scrolling through TikTok. Shenranran also sat on the edge of the bed, gazing at me foolishly while her slender legs swung cheerfully. Every now and then, she'd giggle at me for no reason. The room suddenly fell quiet, with only the loud sound of Shenlinlin's TikTok videos breaking the silence. "Pay attention, this man is called Shozhuang." Alright, stop bothering me," I said, already fed up with the sisters after just a few minutes. "I'll book you a hotel nearby. Go play there instead." Shenranran blinked her eyes. "Bro, did your manuscript fee come in?" "MHM, made a bit of pocket money this month." The moment the words left my mouth, I immediately regretted it. Shenranran instantly teleported over, wrapping her arms around my waist and cooing, "Bro, I've had my eye on this outfit lately, but my finances are dire. Mom and Dad's Imperial Disaster Relief Funds haven't arrived either. You wouldn't want your baby sister living in school uniforms forever, right? Just 500. I only need 500. I'll pay you back once I graduate and get a job, I promise." Alright, by the time you have money, your brother here would have starved to death." I pushed her away with a disgusted hand on her head, but still ended up transferring her 2,000 via phone. "These 2,000 yuan mean nothing to me. I've already earned a whopping 500,000 yuan from Xiaoshuti alone. Besides, she's my own sister. If I weren't worried about exposing this newfound wealth of mine, I might have given her even more." "Wow, 2,000? Shenranran's eyes instantly lit up. "Bro, did some sugar daddy tip you recently? You're being so generous." "What? 2,000? Shenlinlin, who had been lying in bed scrolling through TikTok, immediately sprang up. "Me too, old man, give me 2 grand as well." Folding my arms smugly, I said, "Sure, call me bro first, and I'll transfer it to you." This brat hadn't called me bro in ages. Normally, she'd just sneer at me and put on that annoying smug girl act, looking downright punchable. Now that I've got the chance, I naturally have to teach her a proper lesson. Shenlinlin was stunned for a moment, her face turning suddenly red as she immediately grabbed a pillow and threw it at him while shouting, "Go die, you old bastard." I shrugged indifferently. "No calling means no money. Get up quick, I'm going out to eat." Who knew Shenlinlin would suddenly pounce on me like an octopus, wrapping herself around me while reaching directly for my phone to transfer money. In the past, she'd often pin me down and forcibly steal my phone for transfers, but things were different now. In one swift motion, I grabbed her by the waist and tossed her onto the bed where she bounced, nearly falling to the floor. "Ha, you think I've been training for nothing recently?" I smirked triumphantly at the clearly stunned Shenlinlin. "Times have changed, little brat." But then, in the very next second, Shenlinlin started throwing a full-blown tantrum on the bed, crying and screaming, "Wah, I'm telling Dad you hit me." Watching Shenlinlin throwing a tantrum like a primary school kid, my lips twitched. "Stop whining." It was obvious the girl was faking it, but I couldn't do anything about her antics, so I transferred her 2,000 yuan anyway. The moment the WeChat payment notification sounded, Shenlinlin's sobbing stopped abruptly. She flashed me a triumphant, "Hee hee, gotcha." My eyebrow jerked as I looked at these two drama queen sisters. Unable to decide whether to laugh or cry, I groaned. Being stuck with you two troublemakers must be my karma from a past life. Around 7 in the evening, I took both sisters out for Haidileo hot pot. Though I acted annoyed with them on the surface, they're still my baby sisters. Of course I doted on them deep down. I couldn't bear to let them return to school so soon after we finally got to meet. After ordering at Haidileo, the two sisters chattered away about school life, complaining about their eccentric roommates, all those trivial yet intimate girlish matters. Listening quietly beside them, I felt an inexplicable warmth, like watching the girls next door blossom into young women. Time flies so quickly. Now both my younger sisters have reached that budding age of adolescence, yet their lively, adorable childhood selves remain vividly etched in my mind. If only they weren't so annoying sometimes, I mused silently. Just then, a message arrived from Su Lishuan. "Lahu hates early classes. I'm so bored, what are you up to?" I thought for a moment and typed my reply, "Eating out. What about you? Watching horror movies again?" "Nope, just spacing out in the dorm. Not sure what to have for dinner either. I really can't bring myself to eat another cafeteria meal. No morning class happy. Tomorrow's Saturday. I thought college life would be way more fun, but it's honestly so boring. I totally envy you, senior. You escaped the misery of university life ages ago. Sulishwan's message was accompanied by a short video lasting a few seconds. In the footage, her roommates were either scrolling through their phones or binge-watching shows, while Yashinshin beside them was comfortably engrossed in a game. The last few seconds were a selfie of Sulishwan, pouting with a sullen expression that was oddly adorable. There were 3 reply options for her, with 1 and 2 swiftly dismissed. Though I knew choosing 3 was perfectly normal, I still felt inexplicably nervous. If this message was sent, it would essentially mean I was asking Sulishwan out. I wasn't sure why I was so anxious. Maybe being cooped up for too long had made me socially awkward, and I feared she might reject me. Damn it, stop being such a coward. Remembering how close I'd come to missing my chance with Sulishwan last time, I typed my reply with a mix of excitement and nervousness. Hey, wanna hang out tomorrow? My treat, there's this famous roast duck place near where we last met. My heart was pounding like crazy after sending that message. This was actually the first time I'd ever taken the initiative to ask a girl out to dinner, and I had no idea whether she'd be willing to meet up. After calming down, I felt the chances of Sulishwan actually accepting the invitation were pretty good. Her roommate was right there next to her, yet she'd taken out her phone to chat with me on WeChat and even sent videos sharing bits of her daily life. To me, these were clear signals that a girl wanted to communicate and interact with me. When she mentioned feeling bored on Saturday, it felt like she was hinting she wanted to go out. After waiting a few minutes without getting a reply from Sulishwan, I couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed. Maybe she went to the bathroom? Or stepped out to get takeout? These are probably the kinds of excuses introverted people with fragile hearts make to comfort themselves. After waiting for a few minutes without receiving a reply from Sulishwan, I couldn't help but open our chat window and noticed something interesting. Every few seconds or so, the message "the other party is typing" would appear at the top of the chat box. At first, I was puzzled, but then it suddenly dawned on me. She hadn't gone off to do something else. She'd been holding her phone this whole time. The intermittent typing status must mean she's struggling with whether or not to accept my invitation. Upon reflection, this made perfect sense. I'd only known her for less than 2 days before asking her out. Anyone would find that a tough decision. She wasn't the type to be casual about these things. Under normal circumstances, it'd already be hard enough to get a decent girl to agree to a date in such a short time, let alone someone as beautiful and reserved as Sulishwan. Guess I might have rushed things a bit. After this reassessment, I chuckled to myself and prepared mentally for rejection. No big deal, I'll just take it slower next time. When chasing a girl, there's no need to be overeager. Opportunities will come. Moreover, if she had agreed right away, I would have felt something was off. It's like in a game where you one-shot a world-destroying boss. Where's the sense of achievement in that? Seems like chasing girls really is an art, I murmured to myself, staring at the typing notification in the chat box. Just then, my WeChat finally pinged. Sulishwan had replied. No morning class Lishwan, sure, but no need to treat me. Let's go Dutch, would feel awkward spending your money when we've just met. Waking up at dawn, alright, then I'll meet you at 6 tomorrow evening at the station where we last met. Lu, who dreads early mornings, replied with a cat sticker, sure thing. Honestly, sometimes finishing off a boss in one move isn't such a bad thing, I exclaimed excitedly as I put away my phone, already looking forward to tomorrow's date. Bro, who are you dating online this time? Just as I slipped my phone into my pocket, I saw Shinranran smiling at me. Haven't you learned your lesson from getting scammed last time? My first love was someone I met online. When we met offline, that girl had me buy this and that after dinner, spending nearly 20,000 yuan in total, and I didn't even get to hold her hand. As soon as she got home, she blocked me. I was heartbroken for over half a year because of it, even leaving a melancholy post on my social media. If I ever believe in women again in this lifetime, I'm a dog. I didn't respond, just laughed and said, leave me alone, let's eat. Your laugh is so sleazy. Shin Linlin shot me a disdainful look. If you have money to waste simping, you might as well spend it on me. I beg you two to go find boyfriends and get all lovey-dovey with them. Can you quit pestering me all the time? The smile on my face vanished abruptly as I pleaded with my two sharp-tongued younger sisters. When will we fast forward to the part where you say, bro, you just don't understand him? Chapter 17, a man's knees bare gold, now is the time to cash in. The next morning, I woke up on the sofa in my rented apartment. Normally, I wouldn't have been able to wake up at this hour, but after drinking the physique-enhancing potion yesterday, it was as if someone had forcibly installed a biological clock inside me. Exactly at 7 a.m., all drowsiness vanished, and my body felt completely refreshed. After washing up, I walked to the bedroom door and looked at the two sisters on the small bed. In the dimly lit room, they huddled tightly together in pajamas on the barely spacious enough soft bed, murmuring occasionally in their sleep. Last night they didn't want to take a taxi back, and felt the hotel was too far. so they bought 2 sets of pajamas and made do staying at my place for the night. The sisters had different personalities, and their sleeping positions differed too. Shinranran lay on her side, nestled in Shinlinlin's arms, wearing a content and sweet smile on her face. Shinlinlin's sleeping posture was unrestrained, her limbs wrapped around Shinranran like an octopus, and faint murmurs could be heard from her. Though her sleeping stance was bold, exposing large stretches of fair skin, like any older brother, I harbored no improper thoughts toward my sisters. I chuckled and shook my head, walking over to tuck them in and pinching Shinlinlin's cheek. Sleeping like a pig, I teased softly. Big bro, Shinlinlin murmured suddenly, hugging Shinranran even tighter with a smile. I paused, warmth blooming in my chest, before retorting with mock irritation. Brat, only daring to call me that in your dreams, huh? I went downstairs to buy breakfast for 3 and woke up the sisters. They spent over 10 minutes sitting dazed on the bed before reluctantly getting up to wash up. After washing up and finishing breakfast, I saw them downstairs heading home. They had been whining about me taking them out to play, but since I had a date with Sulishwan this afternoon, there was no way I could bring these 2 third wheels along. I decisively hailed a Didi for them. Brother Shen. Just as we reached downstairs, Xia Mengmeng, her hair tied in twin ponytails, raised her hands and trotted over excitedly. Xia Shuyi followed carrying a supermarket shopping bag, clearly having just returned from grocery shopping. I grinned and scooped the little girl up, bouncing her in my arms. So heavy. With New Year's coming up, I might just sell you off for some candy money. I'm not chubby at all. The little girl giggled in rebuttal, hugging my neck tightly with her plump little hands. Shinlinlin watched us with a sour expression, hesitating to speak before finally snorting, "You damn lolicon." Xia Shuyi was about to greet me when she suddenly noticed how different I looked today, though she couldn't quite pinpoint what had changed. It felt as if my entire demeanor had transformed into someone else's. She was also curious about the 2 pretty girls by my side and asked nervously with a tentative smile, "Xiaoshin, who are these 2? "It's my sister," I briefly introduced, then said to the sisters, "This is my landlady, Sister Xia." Shinlinlin gave Xia Shuyi a disdainful glance and remained silent. "Hello, Sister Xia." Shinranran smiled warmly. My brother mentioned yesterday that his landlady was a beautiful lady, and I didn't believe him at first, but now I see he wasn't exaggerating. "You really are stunning." Shinranran is that kind of universally adored child, top of her class, strikingly beautiful, sweet-tongued, and impeccably polite. No one could possibly dislike her. "Then, where are you?" Xia Shuyi waved her hand sheepishly and asked curiously, "It's so early, where are you 2 off to?" After chatting for a few minutes, Xia Shuyi lifted her shopping bag slightly and said, "Alright then, that's it for now. Next time you come over to play with your brother, remember to stop by my place for a meal." "Alright," Shinranran nodded enthusiastically, while Shinlinlin kept glancing at me and the little girl from time to time, her face full of disdain as if she wanted to say something but held back. "By the way, Xiaoshin," Xia Shuyi said to me again, "my computer is having some issues today. Do you have time to come take a look at it for me?" I stood up. "No problem, I'll see them to the car and be right back." "Alright, then you might as well have lunch at my place," Xia Shuyi said, lifting the shopping bag. "I bought a bit too much food today." "Alright." I didn't refuse, after all. I wasn't meeting Sulishwan until the afternoon anyway. "Bro, I think the landlady kinda has a thing for you. The way she was looking at you just now practically had sparks flying." Shinranran teased mischievously once Xia Shuyi and the little girl had walked away. "Besides, didn't you just move in a few days ago? And she already invited you over for dinner?" There's no denying that Shinranran is a sharp girl. She's got a keen eye for subtle interpersonal dynamics, often seeing things more clearly than adults. She told me, "Don't overthink it. She's worth hundreds of millions, and the entire neighborhood belongs to her." "Fat chance," I snorted. "You really think a wealthy woman of that caliber would fancy a shut-in like your brother who holes up at home all day?" After analyzing for a moment, Shinranran muttered earnestly, "True enough. If I had that much money, I wouldn't fancy an otaku either." I was momentarily at a loss for words. Then, she teased me half-jokingly, "Hey bro, if she really has feelings for you, would you accept it? Isn't she the sugar mama you guys always dream about? She's a bit older, but so beautiful she could save me decades of detours if I just went along with her." I shrugged broadly and countered with shameless sophistry, "Why not agree? Money's so hard to come by these days. If she'd just nod, I'd gladly throw myself at her feet. A man's knees may bear gold, but now's the time to cash in." "Do you know what steel wool symbolizes? Endurance, get it?" Shinranran laughed so hard she punched my arm, exclaiming, "Huh, you're utterly shameless." At this moment, Shinlinlin retorted sarcastically, "Seems to me it's not the landlady you're keen on, but that little girl. The way she calls you brother Xiaoshin makes your bones go weak. Disgusting." I laughed in exasperation and snapped back, "What's wrong with you, Shinlinlin? Getting jealous over a little girl? If you want, you can call me that too. I'm your blood brother, there's no shame in calling me brother." Her face flushed red, but she couldn't think of anything to say in return. Finally, she couldn't hold back anymore and lashed out with a kick, but I dodged it with a grin and said, "Drive safe. Try not to bother your big brother unless you have to." After seeing the two sisters off in their ride-hailing car, I walked up to the landlady's door and rang the bell. The door was opened once again by the lively and adorable Xia Mengmeng. As soon as she saw me, she stretched her arms high and tilted her cute little face upward, hopping up and down, asking to be picked up. I held the little girl in one arm, pinching her chubby cheeks as I asked, "Where's your mom?" The little girl giggled, revealing her adorable baby teeth, and said, "Mommy's cooking." Just then, Xia Shuyi emerged from the kitchen carrying the final dish, her face bright with evident delight. "Xiaoshen, you came at the perfect time. The food's just ready, wash your hands and come eat. You can check the computer later." She wore a white gauzy dress, her fair skin faintly visible through the fabric, while her ample bosom stretched the slightly loose garment taut. The weather was quite hot today, and after bustling in the kitchen for so long, fine beads of sweat glistened on her fair neck. A few strands of hair clung to her forehead and the side of her neck, exuding an irresistibly alluring charm. This vision of her dewy with perspiration, cheeks faintly flushed, and hair slightly disheveled, was truly enough to make one's heart race and cheeks burn. With a smile, I nodded and said, "Thank you for your hospitality, Sister Xia." After washing my hands, I went to the living room to eat, where the little girl still perched on her cartoon stool beside me. The system prompted with a ding. Xia Shuyi's favorability toward the host has increased by 10 points, currently at 60 points. Keep up the good work. With the system's assistance and prompts, I successfully raised Xia Shuyi's favorability by another 10 points. The atmosphere at the dining table was incredibly harmonious. To Xia Shuyi, it felt especially like a family gathering, and she greatly enjoyed this fulfilling feeling. After dinner, the two of us washed dishes in the kitchen. The little girl was on the living room sofa watching cartoons, occasionally bursting into laughter and rolling around on the sofa from the hilarious scenes. Xia Shuyi deeply cherished such a warm atmosphere. Having a man in the house gave her an inexplicable sense of security. While washing dishes, Xia Shuyi asked me, "Xiaoshen, you're 24 if I remember correctly? Getting to that age now, it's about time you found a girlfriend. I'm really curious, what kind of girl would a young man like you prefer?" The system then popped up with options 1, I like women older than me, someone gentle and intellectual, the kind who knows how to run a household well, someone like you, sister. 2, I like wild ones, the wilder the better, with looks and figure to match. 3, I prefer women with big waves, don't get me wrong, that's 2 requirements, big-chested and wild. I responded somewhat sheepishly, maybe my personality isn't exactly what girls fancy. As for me, I tend to like women older than myself, someone gentle and intellectual, the kind who knows how to run a household well, someone like you, sister. Xia Shuyi smiled modestly, her face clearly radiating joy. She hadn't expected my answer to be so straightforward. As we continued washing the dishes, exchanging awkward small talk, I couldn't tell whether her movements were too forceful or if she was subtly hinting at something. Her elbows kept lightly brushing against my abdomen. Every time I turned to look at her, she kept her head slightly lowered, wearing a shy, faint smile. After finishing the dishes, Xia Shuyi took me to her bedroom to fix the computer. Before entering, she nervously reminded the little girl in the living room, "Meng Meng, I'm going with brother Xiaoshen to fix the computer. Be good on your own, okay?" "Got it," the little girl responded without taking her eyes off the LCD screen, her attention completely absorbed. Recalling Mrs. Xia Shuyi's movements earlier while washing dishes, I inexplicably grew restless and swallowed hard. My mind raced. If later the landlady were to forcefully press herself against me, should I refuse? Should I just lay low? Or maybe take the initiative and strike first? At that moment, my gaze happened to meet Xia Shuyi's shy yet nervously expectant eyes as she approached. In that instant, we both tacitly averted our glances. The atmosphere instantly turned subtly intimate, with the cartoon sounds from the living room coming through particularly clearly. "Shongde, Baldy Chang is back to chop down trees again." I cleared my throat first to break the awkward tension. "Miss Xia, which room is the computer in?" "In here," Xia Shuyi quickly responded, hurried over to open the bedroom door, and sat down at a desktop computer. The computer was just purchased recently, and I haven't touched it for several days. I was originally thinking about watching a movie, but suddenly it prompted me to download something. I'm not very tech-savvy and was afraid of doing it wrong, so I didn't dare proceed. "Xiaoshen, take a look." As she spoke, she turned on the computer and reopened the website from yesterday. When she clicked to play the video, a window popped up prompting her to download Flash. This is a common issue. Just download the software from this pop-up window, and you'll be able to play the video normally. I was going to remind her the same way, but who knew the system options popped up again? 1. Pretend not to know, hold Xia Shuyi's hand, help her control the mouse, create an ambiguous atmosphere to bring the two closer. 2. Tell her to download the software in the pop-up window, then the video will play normally. 3. Download the software for her and flirtatiously ask what kind of adult film she likes. Xia Shuyi's fondness for me has already reached a level where we could naturally engage in some adult games. I think even if I choose option 3 as my response, I might still get some suggestive and ambiguous replies from Xia Shuyi. If this level of affection came from any other woman, I might have already been pushed onto the bed the moment we entered the room. To put it bluntly, these three options before me were essentially testing or reminding me. As a man, it was time for me to take the initiative in our interaction and make some bold moves to close the distance between us. Of course, if I chickened out, I could always choose the second option as my response. I nervously swallowed hard and took a few steps forward until I stood behind Xia Shui. After hesitating briefly, I bent down and grasped her fair, jade-like hand that was holding the mouse. At that instant, both our bodies trembled involuntarily. Chapter 19, We've only known each other for a few days? I stood behind Xia Shui, my imposing presence mere inches away. Her heart pounded so fiercely she feared it might leap out of her chest, the blush on her face deepening by the second as she dared not lift her eyes to meet mine. Neither had I ever imagined finding myself in her bedroom, standing so intimately close behind her, while her daughter watched cartoons just outside the room. We'd known each other for less than a few days, yet she burned with such self-conscious shame. She must have been thinking how utterly hollow her life must have become to invite a man she barely knew into her private quarters. Surely she'd lost her mind. She struggled weakly against my hold, yet feared provoking my displeasure or misunderstanding. Yet buried in her heart was the secret yearning for these ambiguous advances, even secretly wishing I'd grow bolder still. So there she was, blankly staring at the cursor on the computer screen, utterly indifferent to my every forward move, while occasionally glancing sideways at this clueless young man who had no idea how to handle such situations. Feeling the warmth of her palm in mine, this was the first time I'd held a woman's hand, and in such an ambiguous manner at that. More importantly, she was the landlady I'd known for barely 2 days after just moving into this neighborhood. Unlike what I'd imagined a girl's hand would feel like, hers was incredibly soft, radiating warmth in my palm like a smooth piece of luminous warm jade. Both nervous and exhilarated, I had no idea what to do except keep holding her hand while clumsily maneuvering the mouse across the screen in random motions. At this moment, the system popped up several options. 1. Gently pick her up, place her tenderly on the bed, and kiss her from above. 2. Press her against the window, lift her skirt, and treat her with gentleness. 3. Lift her up, sit down at the computer yourself, then seat her facing you on your lap, and humiliate her face to face. Holy shit, this system is thirstier than I am. I blushed and muttered with a racing heart. I completely understood now, if I made a move at this moment, Xia Shui would definitely cooperate. Otherwise, these three downright wild options wouldn't have appeared. Ask Xia Jie. I released her hand, trembling as I reached out to gently pull down the shoulder strap of her dress, revealing a vast expanse of snow-white skin and a rounded, lavender bra. Xiao Shen. She didn't resist at all from start to finish, occasionally casting shy glances filled with longing my way. Between her brows, alongside the mature charm of a woman, there was actually a faint trace of youthful innocence. This innocence wasn't about her being young in age, but rather an inexperienced awkwardness. After all, she'd only had sex a dozen or so times, and she was a traditional woman who hadn't experienced it in over a decade. Enough thinking, let's do it. The moment I made up my mind, my brain went completely blank, filled only with humanity's most primal urges. I roughly picked her up, and we both collapsed onto the soft, expansive bed. Pinning down her arms, I looked down at this aristocratic lady beneath me, shy yet ready to bloom, with undisguised eagerness burning in my eyes. Xiao Shen, Meng is still outside, she stammered, her hands nervously clutching the exposed skin as her dress strap slipped off, averting her shy gaze as if surrendering herself completely. Her words weren't a rejection but a reminder, the little one was still out there, and we shouldn't make too much noise. Xiajie, Mommy, the phone's ringing. With a click, the bedroom door handle turned, and the door slowly creaked open. Xia Meng stood dumbfounded at the doorway, the ringing phone in her tiny hands, her innocent eyes frozen as she stared at us on the bed. Mom, what are you and Brother Shen doing? Xia Meng's innocent and childish voice instantly extinguished our burning desire. And nothing, Meng, give me the phone. Like a heroine caught in the act, Xia Shui awkwardly straightened her dress, quickly tidied her disheveled hair, and patted my arm with flushed cheeks, signaling me to get off her immediately. I swiftly jumped off the bed, still keeping my back turned to the little girl as I adjusted my artillery trajectory. Brother Shen, what were you and Mommy doing just now? Xia Meng tilted her innocent little face and asked, were you playing a game? I want to play too. I awkwardly patted the little girl's head, utterly at a loss for how to explain. But, Xia Shui burst into laughter seeing my embarrassed expression, giving me a gentle yet reproachful glance before turning to the little girl. Meng, go get your backpack quickly. It's time for your tutoring class. After the little girl left the bedroom, we exchanged a tacit glance before quickly looking away. Xia Shui couldn't believe she was mentally replaying the scenario. Had Meng not interrupted earlier, would she really have proceeded with intimate relations with this big boy who'd just moved in a few days ago? She knew she held considerable affection for me, this warm-hearted, kind young man who'd won her over. Most importantly, my genuine care for Meng and natural way with children truly touched her. yet she felt progressing that quickly after mere days of acquaintance was far too rash. At the very least, they should date properly first. And she couldn't help wondering why had she agreed so readily back then. Had loneliness really eroded her restraint to this extent? After a moment of silence, I casually brought up a topic. Ahem, what subject does Meng Meng need tutoring in? Piano. She replied indifferently, and the atmosphere in the room instantly became awkward. Sis Xia, I wanted to. Well, Xiaoxin, you should go back to your work first. She cut me off, afraid I might say something to make her stay as she wavered, and said nervously, I have to take Meng Meng to her tutoring class now. At this moment, the system popped up another option. 1. Ask in confusion. Why? Can't you just send Meng Meng to the tutoring center and come back so we can continue? 2. An earnest confession. Sister Xia, I like you, I want to be with you. Money doesn't matter, what's important is that I want to take care of Meng Meng together with you. 3. Graceful farewell. Alright then, I'll take my leave now. Sister Xia, feel free to reach out anytime if you need help with anything in the future. Alright, no problem. I'll take my leave now, Sister Xia. If you ever need any help, feel free to contact me. I could tell she genuinely didn't want to dwell on the matter any further, especially now that Meng Meng had gotten involved. She wouldn't just ignore her daughter. So I decisively left the bedroom. Hearing the sound of the door closing, I knew she was sitting on the bed hugging her knees in a daze, probably still muttering, we've only known each other for a few days, I must be out of my mind. Thinking about what had just happened, she buried her flushed face between her knees. Chapter 20, The First Date with a Goblin. Even after returning home, my agitated and restless mood took a long time to settle. Staring at the hand that had torn Xia Shuyi's skirt, my mind involuntarily replayed the scenes in the bedroom, and I suddenly felt a surge of heat rising within me. What a shame there's no automatic fire extinguisher at home. All I can sigh is, what's the point of having this iron rod? As a novice, it was my first time nearly getting involved with a married woman, no less. I have to say, real action is far more thrilling than self-help or those fantasy novels colleagues write. The more I thought about it, the more restless I became. Especially with my pent-up frustration still unresolved, this feeling of having nowhere to release it made me inexplicably agitated. I took a frantic cold shower, which finally cooled me down quite a bit. It wasn't until after 5 p.m. that Su Lishuan sent me a WeChat message. She wrote, "You're not busy today, right?" Clearly, she was testing whether I'd forgotten our arrangement or checking if I'd be free that afternoon to meet her. After going through the system's training these past few days, I could easily understand such straightforward hints. I replied to her, "Not busy. Should I pick you up from school this afternoon?" She responded, "No need. The school isn't far from your place. I'll just take a DD." I said again, "Alright, let me know once you're on the bus." She replied, "Okay." After chatting briefly with Su Lishuan, I closed the WeChat window. Meanwhile, in the girls' dormitory at Zhuhai University, Su Lishuan excitedly tossed aside her phone and eagerly opened her closet. Standing on her pale toes, she gazed at the rack of outfits, pondering what to wear for their first date. Su Lishuan, like many single female college students, didn't just want to gain knowledge and earn a good diploma from university, she also longed for a sweet romance to enjoy her youthful college days. Interestingly, the person she met wasn't a fellow student from her university, but me, a graduated senior she encountered while buying chestnuts outside. Hee, Xian, take me with you? Yi Xinxing teased, watching Su Lishuan struggle to pick an outfit. I want to see what's so charming about this guy who's managed to captivate the campus belle of Zhuhai University like this. I told you it's just a normal friend, just going out for a simple meal, Su Lishuan murmured with a slightly flushed face as she finally settled on an outfit for the date. It's Saturday today, and most of the roommates have gone home, leaving only Yi Xinxin and Su Lishuan in the dorm. Too lazy to go to the bathroom, Su Lishuan undresses right in front of Yi Xinxin, revealing the flawless figure that drives countless boys wild. Just like Xia Shuyi, she doesn't seem to realize we've known each other for less than a few days and only met once offline. This is how girls who've never been in a relationship or they romanticize love and dream about the future. If someone catches their eye and wins their affection, their emotional and intellectual guard tends to drop. That's why you often see average-looking guys in college with stunning girlfriends, mostly because these guys dare to test the waters with girls, rather than cowering in the corner. Of course, single women have many requirements for their future partners, such as owning a car and a home, height, family background, and even compatibility in zodiac signs and Chinese astrology. Just like my looks and introverted personality, Su Lishuan probably thinks they're points against me. But if a woman is genuinely attracted to a man, all those previous criteria will vanish, and she'll gladly accept everything about him. Su Lishuan just loves the humor she finds in me and enjoys chatting with me. Many couples who fall for each other develop their relationships exactly like this, and my flaws end up being overlooked. My dear Xian, who'd believe that Yi Xinxing teased with a sly smile, watching Su Lishuan pull on her white stockings. She lunged forward like a creep to stroke her delicate feet. TSK, these legs are driving me crazy. I'm so jealous of that guy. Cut it out. Su Lishuan blushed and pushed away Yi Xinxing's hand. As she got dressed and was about to leave the dorm, Yushinshin reminded her, if you're not coming back tonight, remember to tell him to bring condoms. I don't want to become a godmother right after starting college. Go play your game. Sulishwan spat out with a flushed face, slamming the dormitory door shut. Around 6 in the evening, Sulishwan arrived at the bus stop where we had parted ways last time, just as agreed. It was rush hour with many people coming and going, and her meticulous attire drew quite a few glances. She was tall and curvaceous, her slender legs wrapped in white stockings appearing perfectly proportioned beneath her short skirt, while her fair thighs looked even softer against the contrast of the sheer fabric. A group of male college students were so captivated by her that they missed their bus, torn over whether to approach her for contact details. When Sulishwan glanced their way, they mistakenly thought they'd caught the beauty's attention, boosting their confidence to ask, never realizing she was actually scanning the crowd for me. Sorry I'm late, I said, walking up behind her. Sulishwan froze for a moment upon hearing my voice. She turned around, stared at me blankly, then finally managed to stammer out a question. Who are you? I'm Shen Lang, I reminded her with amused disbelief. It's only been a few days since we last met. How could you already forget me? You're Shen Lang? She struggled to connect the sunny, handsome version before her with the bespectacled, listless otaku from last time. After some thought, I formed my hands into makeshift binoculars before my eyes. Maybe this makes it clearer? Without your glasses, I barely recognized you. She laughed in sudden realization, then asked curiously, is it convenient for you not wearing glasses? I nodded, my nearsightedness isn't severe. I can go without glasses if needed. Is that so? She said with delight in her voice. Though her eyes seemed calm and polite, they were eagerly examining me. My face was the same as before. It's understandable she didn't recognize me at first glance without glasses, especially since this was only our second meeting. The key difference was my demeanor. During our first meeting, my nervous, introverted otaku vibe had been obvious, but now I looked like a vibrant, sunny young man. What a drastic contrast. You look quite handsome without glasses. She couldn't help complimenting me. If earlier I'd attracted her with humor and wit while my socially awkward introversion was a drawback, now I met all her criteria for an ideal partner. After all, nobody wants to take a shy introvert shopping. I smiled and told her, you're quite pretty too. After pondering for a moment, I studied Sulishwan curiously and asked, and you seem quite tall, are you 170 centimeters? Not at all, nowhere near that tall. She shook her head somewhat shyly. I'm only about 165 centimeters. Maybe it's because your legs are longer. I casually complimented while gesturing with my hand. Feels like you're almost up to my chest now. Not that tall, you're over 1.8 meters yourself. She shifted slightly in her white stockings, smiling with a hint of embarrassment yet clearly pleased. Ding! Sulishwan's favorability toward the host has increased by 2 points. Current total, 11 points. Keep it up. It was then I realized why the system instructed me to offer compliments so nonchalantly. Apparently, this offhand approach makes praise seem most sincere. Let's go then. We'll grab some food first. I pointed toward the snack street and said eagerly, there's an old street over there with Lantern Festival tonight. It'll be really lively. After eating, we can stroll around that area. Today's Saturday, and Sulishwan came out to hang out in the evening anyway. As long as she doesn't stay out all night, going back a little late shouldn't be a problem. With such a great opportunity, I definitely wouldn't just say goodbye after dinner. More importantly, if a girl is willing to go out with you at night, it means she has some interest in you. The nighttime atmosphere is ambiguous, and girls tend to be more emotional, making it easier to sway their hearts. Add to that the presence of a guy she cares about. Most girls can't help but reveal more of their inner thoughts or their truest selves. That's also why guys tend to have more success confessing their feelings at night rather than during the day, though of course, there are those tragic cases where she says yes in the moonlight only to change her mind by morning. Yeah, Sulishwan flashed a sweet smile, walking alongside me as we chatted and laughed our way toward the snack street, leaving behind a trail of heartbroken college boys. I took Sulishwan to a fairly renowned roast duck restaurant. After ordering, with the help of the system, I took the lead in striking up a conversation. The topics suggested by the system mostly catered to Sulishwan's interests, campus life, celebrity gossip, horror movies, and the like. Before I knew it, I casually brought up a topic about roommates, and Sulishwan immediately seized it, launching into a spirited and vivid monologue about her roommates' quirks and personalities, her eagerness to express herself unmistakably shining through. Actually, when a girl doesn't want to chat with you, it's often because you're not bringing up topics she's interested in, or your conversation skills are too awkward and stiff, which can make her feel annoyed. Thankfully, I have the system as my cheat code. Otherwise, not only would I struggle with conversation, but I'd never even have a chance to ask the campus beauty of Zhuhai University out for duck. With the system's help, my mindset has changed significantly, and my conversation skills have improved a lot. Sometimes, even without the system's prompts, I can smoothly navigate the conversation. After all, the system has practically held my hand through it. If I were still acting meek and introverted, then there'd really be no hope for me. Just then, the waiter brought steaming hot roasted duck and chili oil and some side dishes. While serving, Su Lixuan and I were chatting so happily that we didn't notice the two waitresses sporting auntie-like knowing smiles. Su Lixuan was naturally bubbly and playful, but like most girls on a first date with a guy, she'd been putting on a demure and reserved facade. Who would have guessed that within less than an hour of conversation, her true colors would emerge? After finishing serving, the waitress beamed at our chatterbox couple and said, "You two can take your time with romance, but this roast duck needs to be eaten while it's hot." Chapter 23. I feel like eating ice cream. Su Lixuan, initially brimming with joy, flushed crimson at this ambiguous misunderstanding. She cleared her throat softly, lowering her head to nibble at the duck meat glistening with red oil, all while secretly observing my reaction to her words. I coughed awkwardly too, at a loss for words, and at the system's prompt, began serving Su Lixuan more duck meat. She nodded repeatedly with thanks, stuffing her mouth full of the portions I'd given her until her fair cheeks were puffed out. The pair that had been chatting cheerfully moments ago suddenly fell into an inexplicable silence, making the neighboring patrons' boisterous laughter all the more audible. Yet instead of feeling awkward, the atmosphere carried an unspoken, tantalizing tension. Put plainly, the woman knew the man's mischievous intentions, and the man recognized her feigned reserve. In such situations, letting things unfold naturally before blossoming into something real is simply the way to go. But the waitress's words had directly exposed the barrier between them. How could it not be awkward? After finishing the meal, I paid the bill and took Su Lixuan to a nearby lantern festival. Strangely, as soon as we stepped out of the restaurant, the tension between us melted away, and we were chatting animatedly again. When we arrived at the ancient street, the lantern festival had just begun. Lights dazzled everywhere, with colorful lanterns lining both sides of the street, each emitting its own unique glow, creating an almost dreamlike atmosphere. The street was packed with a bustling crowd. Laughing and chatting, we weaved through the throng. Every shop was adorned with vibrant lights, their signs swaying gracefully under the glow, captivating the eyes of passers-by. Su Lixuan walked beside me, beaming with joy as she surveyed the shops lining both sides of the street, occasionally stopping to take a closer look. The street was alive with the clamor of gongs and drums, featuring dragon and lion dances, acrobatics, magic shows, and other performances. Such a grand spectacle attracted numerous live streamers, who carried broadcasting equipment and shouted themselves hoarse into their phones, pleading with their family members for support. The tourists roared with excitement, their applause unceasing, while children ran gleefully up and down the ancient street, their laughter echoing everywhere. Beyond the performances, the Lantern Festival also offered many traditional snacks. I bought Su Lixuan a rabbit-shaped sugar painting to enjoy as we strolled. She adored this place, her smile never faded from the moment we arrived. Every now and then, she'd hand me the sugar painting to hold while she whipped out her phone to snap pictures in every direction. Ding! Su Lixuan's favorability toward the host has increased by 6 points, currently at 17 points. Keep up the good work. Maybe this is what having a boyfriend feels like. Hearing the system prompt, I gazed at the half-eaten rabbit-shaped candy in my hand, then at Su Lixuan, who was enthusiastically snapping photos of the lion dance beside me, a satisfied smile also spreading across my face. Just then, amid the crowd, Su Lixuan was bumped into by a child, stumbling backward as her phone nearly slipped to the ground. The mischievous kid didn't seem to care at all, glancing curiously at her before sticking out his tongue playfully and skipping away. That scared me to death, my phone almost shattered, Su Lixuan muttered, watching the bratty kid scamper off, her lips puckering in annoyance. 1. Go after the mischievous kid, give him a slap, and make him apologize to Su Lixuan, or else tell his parents. 2. Warn Su Lixuan to stand further away while filming and not to interrupt the performance. 3. Hold Su Lixuan's hand, gently remind her that it's crowded here, and suggest taking a walk by the beach instead. Good-looking people have partners, and so do ugly people. Only cowards don't deserve one. Since meeting Su Lixuan, I've kept those words firmly in my heart. There are too many people here. Without thinking, I stepped forward and took Su Lixuan's soft, pale hand in mine, my gaze shifting nervously as I spoke. Why don't we go for a walk by the sea? There's a place up ahead called Jade Sand Bay, it's quite nice. Even with the system aiding me, I was still incredibly nervous about boldly holding a girl's hand in public. I feared this impulsive move might upset Su Lixuan. After all, holding her hand before officially establishing our relationship, would she think I'm too reckless? What if she said it was too soon, that she wasn't ready yet, and then pulled her hand away? How awkward would that be? As my mind raced with these thoughts, I kept holding Su Lixuan's hand. She looked down at our joined hands, visibly taken aback, all her earlier liveliness vanishing in an instant. She glanced up at me shyly, her little face immediately flushing red. Her lips parted as if to say something, then hesitated. After a moment, she replied in a voice as faint as a mosquito's hum, Receiving her response, I was so excited that my smiling face nearly twisted with emotion. Then, let's go. Zhanghai City is a coastal town. The local attractions its residents proudly boast about, aside from historical sites, are its seascapes. Yusha Bay is relatively remote and less renowned in travel guides. There's only one large seashell sculpture there, with the rest being just sandy shores and ocean. Mostly, only nearby residents visit during leisure time. Out-of-town tourists tend to overlook this modest beach. I held Sulishwan's hand as we strolled along the cobblestone path. Beside us stretched the endless sea, with some passers-by leisurely wandering on the beach. The sea breeze was strong tonight, but we were bundled up warmly, so it didn't matter. Along the way, Sulishwan spoke very little. She occasionally looked up at me, then blushed and stared at our clasped hands, lost in thoughts I couldn't decipher. She was an inland girl who rarely got to see the ocean. In the past, she would have kicked off her shoes immediately to frolic on the sand and take photos. She was naturally an exuberant, lively girl. But now her hand was in mine, experiencing for the first time that intimate touch between a man and a woman in love. Her heart held both the bewilderment of being caught off guard and the anticipation of romance. At that moment, the system's options popped up. 1. Smirk playfully. Didn't you say before that you'd never seen the ocean? How about it? Want to go play on the beach? 2. Wrap arm around her waist and say eagerly, it's getting late, let's get a room. I'm craving ice cream. I'll take you back to campus tomorrow. 3. Ask with concern, why so quiet? Want me to take you back to campus? Feeling homesick? I chose the first option, subtly tightening my grip on Sulishwan's hand as I said, so, remember you mentioned you've never seen the ocean? How about, we go play on the beach? Yeah, she nodded eagerly, and we started walking toward the shoreline. Wearing flat shoes and white thermal stockings, we could only stroll along the edge where the waves lapped the sand. Shen Lang, what exactly do you do for work now? She suddenly asked, secretly returning the pressure of my hand with hers. Feeling her slender fingers pressing softly against my palm, I was overwhelmed with exhilaration and indescribable sense of achievement that nearly robbed me of coherent speech. Don't laugh at me, but I'm currently writing novels at home. Really? What genre do you write? She was familiar with online novels and would sometimes read romance stories on tomato novels to pass the time. Unlike those blind dates who only asked about my salary, she actually inquired about my writing genre. After all, those blind dates were just looking to take advantage of someone, while she was genuinely interested in romance. Ahem, it's wuxia stuff, full of fights and swordplay. Girls usually don't enjoy that kind of thing. So far, I've churned out over 1 million words. That's not bad at all, at least it's work you enjoy, she said with a smile. I never would have guessed you'd turn out to be a famous writer, senior. Ha, famous writer is pushing it. I handed her the sugar painting. Just making enough for porridge money. Who knows if I'll even stay in this line of work in the future. We strolled along the beach, chatting casually with the sea breeze in our hair, leaving a trail of footprints behind. With the system's assistance, our conversation wandered from campus life to future plans, then to dorm mates, free-flowing and spontaneous. Most new couples are like this, just being together with hearts connected, even doing nothing special, can make their bond grow warmer. The sparkling sea surface shimmered under moonlight, reflecting our figures chatting and laughing. Ding! Sulishwan's affection towards the host has increased by 5 points, currently at 22 points. Keep up the good work. Girls' emotions are indeed more vulnerable at night. After just over 10 minutes of conversation, her affection rose by 5 points. I could clearly sense her drawing closer to me. When the conversation got intense, she'd even rest her head on my shoulder like a cute girlfriend. Realizing this belatedly, she'd shyly create distance, but her eyes never stopped reflecting my image. I don't know how much time had passed when we finally stopped in front of a jumble of rocks. No path ahead. She stared at the rocks, her tone tinged with disappointment. I turned back in surprise to glance at the entrance. We've come this far already? Hee hee, time flies when you're chatting, you know. Yeah, haha. We chuckled softly, gazing at each other's faces so close, then fell inexplicably silent. At that moment, the system options popped up again. 1. Wrap your arms around her slender waist, press her against the jagged rocks, and kiss her passionately. 2. Ask eagerly, since no one's around here, may I give your white silk-clad feet a little squeeze? 3. Gently caress her face, gaze deeply into her eyes, and tenderly kiss her. Should I take her home? I wrestled with the thought. Honestly, I couldn't bear to let her go. But aside from option 2, wouldn't the other 2 choices be too extreme? I've only known her for a few days, and this is just our second meeting. Would she slap me if I kissed her? Suddenly, I blurted out, what was that? She was startled. Huh? What's wrong? And nothing. Oh, we glanced at each other, then timidly looked away, our hands still entwined. The surroundings grew quiet, only the crisp sound of waves hitting scattered rocks remained distinct, while the ginkgo leaves on shore rustled softly in the sea breeze. Don't be a coward, there's nothing to fear. I mentally pep-talked myself, releasing her slightly sweaty hand as I slowly raised my palm toward her fair, delicate cheek. The system presented 2 ambiguous options, signaling her acceptance of me kissing her here. I reminded myself to stop immediately and make excuses if she showed any reluctance. I couldn't risk staring off this hard-to-meet elf girl. Under her slightly dazed gaze, my hand gently caressed her face. Just as I imagined, her skin was soft and smooth, growing increasingly warm beneath my touch. When my fingers brushed her cheek, she shivered slightly, as if anticipating what I was about to do. At this moment, she really wanted to ask me, what exactly are we now? But in this quiet, deserted night, she didn't want to break the romantic atmosphere and just pursed her lips, gazing at me. No objection? So that means. Under her watchful eyes, I slowly leaned in, our faces drawing closer. I could smell the sweetness of sugar painting on her lips, wondering if it would taste even sweeter inside. Thump, thump. Feeling the warmth of my fingers and watching my approaching face, her heart raced wildly. Her lips trembled slightly as she clutched her dress tightly. Soon, the tip of my nose touched her petite upturned nose, and my lips pressed against her soft, plump ones. The first sensation was softness, with a hint of sweetness, and I could distinctly detect Sulishwan's gradually deepening breaths. Since it was my first kiss, I had no experience and could only clumsily press my lips against hers. If not for fearing her rejection, I would have loved to mimic those movie scenes and slip my tongue in. We stayed lip-locked like that for several minutes before I gradually released her burning cheeks and stared in disbelief at her stunned, bewildered expression. I had never imagined that after knowing Sulishwan for less than a few days on our very first date, no less, I would steal the first kiss of this ethereal sprite. Sulishwan seemed to have a sudden resurgence of vitality too, turning away in overwhelming shyness. Covering her burning cheeks, she muttered incredulously to herself, Sulishwan, what's wrong with you? You've only known him for how long, and this was your first kiss? In the stillness of the night, within such a leisurely and graceful atmosphere, two young hearts experiencing love for the first time stood by the seaside, flushed and troubled by the pounding of their hearts. After coming ashore, as if our memories had been erased, we tacitly forgot about that ambiguous kissing scene and continued walking hand in hand along the cobblestone path by the shore. It was around 10 p.m. when we had almost finished exploring the area, and the lively lantern festival had come to an end. Reluctantly, I finally sent Sulishwan off in her car. Damn, is this what being in love feels like? Back at home, lying on my small bed, I touched my lips and couldn't help but chuckle foolishly. Feels pretty good. The only regret was missing such a perfect opportunity by the seaside. I didn't even dare to use my tongue. I truly believe that using your tongue during a kiss is what makes it count as a real kiss. But for a socially awkward introvert like me, mustering the courage to kiss Sulishwan in the first place was already a big step. As for going further with the tongue, honestly, I still didn't dare. Mainly, I was worried she might react badly, especially since it was only our first offline date. Even now, I'm still quite nervous, and this lingering sense of oppression is no less intense than being in a 1v5 endgame scenario. Still, I'm not discouraged. This failed attempt actually served as a heads-up for Sulishwan. Next time I ask her out, when I take the initiative to kiss her, she should be somewhat prepared, and neither of us will feel awkward. Tomorrow is Sunday, and Sulishwan has to go home to spend time with her parents. We've also agreed that if neither of us has plans next Saturday, we can hang out again. Thinking about this, I couldn't help but grin, already looking forward to next Saturday's arrival. Just then, Sulishwan sent a WeChat message, I'm back at school. Had a really great time today. I replied, get some rest early. I'll take you out again next Saturday. She then said, also, here are the expenses from today. After saying this, she transferred me 120 yuan, even including the 15 yuan for the sugar painting. In the past, I might have wondered if she was trying to end things by finding ways to return the money. But now, I actually think she's a really great girl, at least character-wise. There's nothing to criticize. I replied, no need, it's barely over 100 yuan. But she insisted, no way, you have to accept it. We've only known each other for this long, I can't casually spend your money. Come on, hurry up. Angry cat, alright then, I had to say, let's just say this one's on me, you can treat me next time. No need to make such a fuss over $100. Dog head. After a brief silence, she replied, next time I'll treat you to seafood. We chatted a bit more until she reached the girls' dormitory, then she put away her phone and strode cheerfully toward her room. It was obvious she'd had a fantastic time on today's date, her steps practically bounced with joy. When I got back to the dorm, most of my roommates were already asleep. The only one still awake was my best friend, Yishinshin, curled under her summer blanket scrolling through her phone. My Shin, you're back? Hearing the door open, Yishinshin eagerly peeked out with a mischievous expression and teased softly, I thought you weren't coming back tonight, it's so late. If I didn't come back, should I sleep under a bridge? Sulishwan, blushing and heart-racing, avoided Yishinshin's I get it smile. After undressing, she stepped into the bathroom to freshen up. After her shower, Sulishwan curled up under the blanket, hugging her Pikachu plush toy, reminiscing about our seaside stroll. It all felt like a fleeting, beautiful dream. Our relationship had progressed so incredibly fast. We'd known each other for less than 4 days, yet we'd grown close enough to hold hands and share a kiss by the shore. What's more, it had been her first kiss. Is it really too fast? We've only known each other for a few days. Sulishwan poked her head out from under the covers, gazing thoughtfully at her friend Yishinshin, who was curled up playing games under the same blanket. She pondered whether to seek advice from this experienced in love best friend. But then again, such things do happen sometimes, don't they? And, as she recalled the moment at the beach when they kissed, her fair face gradually flushed pink. Her pearly white teeth lightly nibbled at her cherry lips, showing signs of shyness. The rosy hue spread rapidly across her translucent cheeks while her chest, wrapped in a pink nightgown, rose and fell unevenly. The next second, her lovely cherry lips curved into a sweet, silly smile that grew wider and wider. Finally, as if remembering something embarrassing, she clung to her Pikachu plush and burrowed completely under the covers. Pressing her burning face into the fuzzy Pikachu, she tossed and turned in her small bed, unable to fall asleep. Every now and then, she couldn't suppress another silly smile, only to quickly replace it with a serious expression of self-admonishment as if struggling against something irresistibly tempting. I can't believe it actually worked out. Yi Xinshin rested her chin on her hand as she watched Su Lixuan rolling around on the small bed, shaking her head with an involuntary sigh. Looks like we're in for a steady diet of lovey-dovey moments from now on. The days that followed unfolded exactly as Yi Xinshin had predicted. Whenever Su Lixuan had a free moment, she would be glued to her phone, chatting with me on WeChat as if we were conjoined twins. At first, she was still somewhat hesitant in front of her roommates, feeling too shy to talk to me openly. But as time went on, she completely dropped the pretense. Our relationship heated up astonishingly fast, progressing from typing messages manually at the beginning to voice chatting nonstop later on. Her sweet, lovey-dovey voice drove her roommates up the wall. Every time they saw her lying on the bed, swinging her pale feet while chatting with me, they couldn't help but feel both envious and inexplicably anxious. All her roommates, including the notorious online player Yi Xinshin, were single. Who wouldn't want to find a boyfriend in college and experience some sweet romance? Sometimes during class, Su Lixuan would secretly take out her phone to chat with me. Our phone calls grew longer each time, sometimes we'd even awkwardly talk through the entire night, to the point where she burned out one of her power banks. The girls in the dorm finally understood the campus belle of Zhuhai University, the unattainable crush of countless boys, had genuinely fallen in love. Except for Yi Xinshin, no one knew that Su Lixuan's partner wasn't someone from the university, but rather someone she met while buying chestnuts outside. Can you believe it? The people in the dorm had also promised to keep Su Lixuan's secret and not spread the news that she was dating me. But who could have guessed that the very next day, news of Su Lixuan dating an off-campus guy became a hot topic on Zhuhai University's forum. As the reigning beauty queen of Zhuhai University and the dream girl of countless guys, Su Lixuan's admirers were green with envy when they saw that forum post. They couldn't help but gossip fiercely about who this mystery boyfriend outside the campus could be. At first, Su Lixuan was a bit worried, concerned that the forum post might cause some commotion. Moreover, the title of campus belle had been thrust upon her by those guys without her knowledge. She had no idea about it at all. But later, she let it go. She wasn't some wildly famous celebrity or streamer. Why should she care what others thought about her having an ordinary relationship? Even as the campus belle, she still had every right to date, okay?